One final spot in the semi-finals of the Rainbow Six Berlin Major is up for grabs. Which of our two teams will take that spot? FURIA or FaZe Clan? Please shake hands. And as they do that and get posted up in their positions, you can feel the energy up here on the stage. I know there's just as much energy down below with Pengu, with Fresh, and Milos.
Thank you very much, Ian, you beautiful, beautiful man. Thank you so much, and we are back in on the analyst desk to prep you for our final best of 3 in the quarterfinals to just lock it all in. We'll know all 4 teams making it to the semifinals tomorrow and prep ourselves for that grand final come Sunday. Very happy for you to join us here for said matchup. I'm Milos, your host for the show, at least on the desk. Ian, the hype man on it all. And I got Fresh and Pengu here to guide me through a classic LATAM BR versus BR matchup. FURIA versus FaZe. We got Fantasy also performing here for FURIA. I cannot wait to get into it because I know it'll be explosive for everybody watching. But we got to get into detail. So let's talk about FaZe Clan first. So Fresh, help me out. This squad that made it through, that carried over into Copa Elite 6, that nobody believed would be here in Berlin.
And you know what? They got Copa Elite 6 on the very final day of BR6 as well, with a
Liquid game.
An incredible game against Liquid. Yeah, so they got through, and then they went on. They won Copa Elite 6 upper bracket all the way through, and then they came into groups. And day 1 and 2 of groups, I was like, holy moly, FaZe are back. They look so good. So good. And then that one little twinge against G2, getting 7-0'd by G2, has just put that one little doubt in the back of my mind. But they look back. They've obviously had a little bit of time off since they won Yavla. They didn't do too well at SI. They had Charlotte off, but they look back.
I mean, you look at Elevate on day 3, and they look not that great in performance. And then today, at the WCNM, massive performance, right? So FaZe, they might have ended weak in group stage, but they have a strong start to playoffs here tonight.
Yeah, and then on the other side, it's FURIA. They're young gunners here in the region. There's many young gunners in Brazil. You thought NA was getting a lot of young gunners in there. You thought APAC, you thought EU. No, Brazil is on another level. Talked about Team 1 in previous tournaments in Charlotte. And now it's FURIA that have made it to every single event, but breaking that kind of glass ceiling, making it from group stage into quarterfinals has been the most difficult trajectory, but they're here.
Yeah, there's something to be said about because they kind of disrupted the establishment in LATAM, right? They were the team that keep forcing one of these big teams not to be going to the events. This time FURIA's got to replace one of these big teams that we're used to always seeing, FaZe, NiP, Liquid, yada yada. But the one thing about FURIA is, like you say, there's that glass ceiling for them in terms of getting through. They can get through, they can get out of groups. But they still seem a little bit fragile, especially once it hits that best of 3 stage, where a team can start figuring out, a team can start punishing Fantasy. That's my kind of, if I had a concern for FURIA, that's it.
I agree, and also FURIA as a team is not known to be super consistent.
Yeah.
In a best of 1, you have one banger map, you're good to go. In a best of 3 or best of 5 scenario, you gotta do good 3 times or 2 times of those 3 times to make it further. And of course, there are star performers like Fantasy. It's kind of like sport scenario where we talk about this person a lot because Fantasy is an incredible player statistically, but you need more than one player to make it at this level of Rainbow Six Siege. You need everyone to show up, otherwise it's not good enough.
And that's that inconsistency that we saw with FURIA. 2-0 after day 1, 2-2 after day 2, and then 4-2 after day 3. It was really a group stage of ups and downs with them.
And one thing I want to highlight is maybe the fact that they're able to break through here into playoffs is due to the fact that they got now one of the most decorated and well-known players in the history of Rainbow Six as Julio on their coaching staff, showing that his experience, even when not in-game, can guide this team through into quarterfinals. It's already an impressive feat for them to make it here. It's impressive to make it to the major, let alone break it into the top 8.
And he will be guiding them and making them feel more comfortable, even in the things outside of the server. And this is a little bit anecdotal, but I saw them in the hotel last night. They were sat in the lobby, just chilling out. And one of the players had lost his key card, right? Which, if you don't speak any English or German, obviously they won't speak German, but Julio just being able to actually speak a decent amount of English and just be like, look, it's chill. Don't make a big thing out of this. That's everything. He will guide them through, and he's the one that they're looking to help them kind of push through, that glass ceiling. He's the difference that we've not seen yet.
I agree. And it's nice just having a person to kind of lean on, right? Whether it's a player, who's a captain on a team, or a coach, or maybe a manager or a staff member. One team was louder than the other there.
FURIA's definitely won the chant off there.
They're young. That's
they got more spirit in them still.
Yeah, they're not thrown on thermite duty just yet. And we have that ourselves in our talent manager King, of course, that makes it all happen. Same thing for the players. So a bit of a quick shout out on there. But let's have a chat about our maps for the series. We're still on through with best of threes until we hit the BO5 Grand Final on what are our 3 maps. 9-map pool that's been changed over the past 6 months, just in case you did not know that. We'll just keep you updated. Ban, 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 ban is how it all goes. It's not a Flintstones reference, I bet you that. FaZe Clan going for Skyscraper. All right, I'm seeing some variety in here. And then Chalet, picked up by FURIA, as Kafe is our decider. Jack, how do you see this overall, from the macro?
With LATAM, the one reason, when you talk about LATAM's reign of terror, one of the contributing factors is the fact that these teams are running 8 or 9 map pools, every single one of them. So the thing of the map preferences is it's quite hard to pick preference. It's about how the teams are feeling, how they've performed inside of the map. Each team basically banned their permabans. Each team has picked a map that they're comfortable with, and the decider is a map that both teams are comfortable with in the middle preference, as if it was a best of 1.
Yeah, it's not like a clear defined line necessarily, but knowing FaZe, I feel like they have the upper hand on Skyscraper, knowing like how they play the game. I see FaZe as like a European team in strategy, but then with that LATAM explosiveness. Yeah. I feel like on a map like Skyscraper, you can't just run around because it's all about getting those safe objectives, play around an area that's fortified, and then play off that.
Let's talk Skyscraper for just a moment here, because our lobby is not far away from being set up. How do we see this going through between FaZe and FURIA? Because Skyscraper just kind of jumbles everything up in the air on top of this being BRBR internationally.
Skyscraper is a really polarizing map for me because I believe it should be very attacker-sided. However, a lot of teams and the way it plays out is very defender-sided. FaZe themselves, 70% win rate on the defense. They love defending that map. And for me, it comes down to that karaoke T primary site. And it's if you can, it's not if you can defend it, it's if you can attack it. If you can attack it, and we've seen the European way of playing it a lot of the time has been to take them top back stairs and go into karaoke using the Osa, using the Monty. Either of those to then get a plant off. If a team can execute that attack flawlessly, it shifts Skyscraper all the way into an attacker-sided map.
I agree. It's all about, I don't want to say the word like gimmicks because it's such a negative word to use, but you really need to have some sort of way in through the map. And as you said, the Osa, the Monty, etc., smoke grenades, the Ying. And so when it comes down to the operate abandon phase, I think that's going to kind of set the tone. And then we got to see what the teams have in their pocket available.
When it comes down to Skyscraper, usually it's the team on the attack that's most decisive. When Skyscraper looks really defender-sided is when the teams get hung up around that kind of middle of the map at the top, the kind of drum area, the shrine, the split, the dragon. That area is teams will normally do a clear from one side to the other when it's the top floor sites. If they waste a load of time taking that and then making an ingress into site, that's where it can be very defender-sided.
You really have to see that as Villa, where you're trying to take from the opposite side of the map when you're going on to, for example, in that marble statuary area that you're trying to defend. But also, it makes sense. It's, to borrow a StarCraft term for any nerds that are there, it's the natural. It's the natural expansion. You always expand into those power positions because they set you up for success. And success for defenders is at least burning time. So can that be used effectively when two teams are known for being so active? Do you think so?
No, I think absolutely, like hit the nail on the head, so to speak, Milos. And these teams, they can both do it, but it comes down to, again, execution.
Who takes map 1? Quickly. Lobby's ready.
I'm going to go to FaZe.
I agree, FaZe. I think they will, obviously they know their opponent really well. They beat them in Copa Elite 6 by winning Copa Elite 6, and I think they'll be able to target Fantasy off the board. All
right, let's see how that goes. Thank you very much, Pengu and Fresh. Our game is ready. It's all BR, and it's FURIA versus FaZe Clan. Our casters, well, they're flap. It's Fluke and Half on the other side. Enjoy.
Thank you, Fresh Losh. I don't know what that one is. Hi, welcome back. We're here with the last game of the day, one more, and well, it's a best of 3 between two teams that know each other pretty well.
They know each other pretty well. They play each other at least like 2 times a stage, Copa Elite, and of course the Brasileiro 6, something like that. I really don't know how to pronounce it, but either way, these two teams, they know each other through and through. They play each other so often, and every now and then they meet each other as well in these best of 3 scenarios. So, with that said, it is going to be for a spot in the all-Brazilian semi-finals.
Yeah, I think now we're getting, obviously we know their opponents, we know who they're going to be up against. We're starting to get the shape of the face of tomorrow, and either way, they're aware of their opponents.
They will be aware.
We'll let the music kick through.
Look at that. FURIA, heavily favored over FaZe. 86%. 68. 68? 68. Honestly, I keep on getting these numbers mixed up.
Maths is hard.
Maths is hard.
Skyscraper. An interesting pickup for the day. Obviously, we've had a lot of, not the same maps, but same maps, same stuff that we've seen quite a few times. Skyscraper, we had it a couple times throughout groups. It's not the biggest unknown for these two teams, and in fact, we saw it from FaZe's group, a 7-5 against Sandbox.
Yeah, both these teams have played it in these last 3 months. FURIA played it 3 times, won it a total of 2. Overall, their Skyscraper record is going to be 67% defense, 55 attack. FaZe doing a little bit better there with the nice little 83% on the defense. So with that, it is going to be a very, very tight matchup between these two, at least for this very first map. So let's preface this, or preface this a little bit more. These teams know each other through and through. You right now have FURIA, who managed to make it out of groups for probably the first time in a while, because they're always here, but they're never really breaking through. Unlike FaZe, who have won a major already.
Well, FURIA are the only team that's consistently been at pretty much every single showdown. Obviously, we've just had a little tech thing, so we'll be back in as soon as we can. As you can see, there's only one player posted there across the board. Usually, when these two teams meet themselves in a best of 3, FaZe has generally come out the sort of winners, the victors, across, obviously, the same region games, across the board.
Some FURIA, some push hands going around. But yes, FaZe usually is favored, and of course they do have that experience, but this FURIA looks a lot more different compared to what we are used to be seeing from them. Some waves, some Fs from the FaZe clan coming through as well.
Some FaZe ups.
They have a nice little view over the crowd, nicely elevated.
They do.
Can look up to the balconies easily, can look down onto the ground floor as well. Now, I was wondering if there was some signs. I saw some already, so I just want to see what signs.
There was a LaserGate sign.
There was a LaserGate sign.
There was a LaserGate sign.
I think that one was meant to be signed by Ace as well. I'm not sure if he did.
You know as well as I.
He knows. Now, players are slowly starting to join, so don't worry, we are about to get underway.
It's happened to us twice.
It happens to us twice.
It happens.
Last time we managed to actually get people to cheer with us, so...
No, I think that was because they could see the lobby.
Yeah.
We'll be in very shortly. We are closer and closer to starting this off. If you missed the map selection, Skyscraper, Chalet, and ending on a potential Kafe. Now, both these two teams, based on recent data, have, well, actually pretty much every single map pulled. Skyscraper itself is 3 of 3 of FaZe over the past roughly 3 months, 2 of 3 for FURIA, so it's not entirely unknown by them.
No, definitely not. There is a lot of VODs that they could have gone off of and try and get yourself some information. But you know what? The match has begun. Shall we just get into it?
I would like
Everybody ready to go to Skyscraper?
There you go.
Let's get into Skyscraper, shall we?
Take 2, Skyscraper. And we'll find our way through this showdown. Now, although they've both played it a bit, and although they both play each other quite a lot, they haven't played each other on this. Generally, swing around a couple of themes, clubs, and banks. So this sort of competition between the two of them, it is not entirely unknown territory, but it's going to be a bit creative territory.
Thatcher, the first to be removed, is not a strange band to see come through. Nomad to come out is going to be making sure some flanks are more viable. Maybe we see a gridlock to come in place, for example. Cade, okay. Logical, with a Thatcher to be removed.
People cheering the band.
Oh, we're cheering for the bands. We're getting a bit of a wave going.
It's like, oh.
We definitely are. And it's the Oryx to be removed. No hatch jumping, no ramadashing around the corner. And with that, our bands are set for the very first map between FURIA and FaZe. Round 1, and it is going to be FURIA on the defense, FaZe on the attack. Now, what will these two teams be looking for?
Skyscraper itself is still trying to find its face. It has a few different sort of swing statistics based on whether it's something that people prefer to take themselves on the attack to. I think generally it's still... I mean, you're the man with the numbers. You can give me the actual straight-up numbers here.
I'll just pull up those numbers very quickly for you there. I'll just go for the Berlin Major, Sean.
Yeah, sure.
Just
treat me.
From what we have so far on Skyscraper throughout the tournament, we have a 57% defensive win rate overall, with the Offensive Exhibition being the best side, 73%. T-Karaoke comes up next with 60, though.
Those are some numbers.
Some numbers.
Generally, it swings its way into the side of defense. Now, that's FURIA's lead in here. They're going to hope that they can try and put a bit of distance in. As I said before, they haven't really had much success in this roster, this recent iteration, versus FaZe's sort of current swing. In best of threes, it's usually a 2-0, and it's down to FaZe to see if they can get themselves up to that similar sort of lead on their first map. Or maybe we'll have a bit of a break of pace, go back to how it was at the beginning of the day, and go to all 3 maps. But it starts with a bit of an attempt to jump out there. Not going to try and dabble on that a second time. Skyscraper can be vicious on those outside window approaches.
It's a dangerous Skyscraper. There's a lot of rappelling going on. There's limited balconies you can go from, and these balconies, if they are there, are basically like a meter or 2 wide. So you're always really tunneled in. It's going to be quite difficult to find yourself some depth. And that means you try and get into that building as soon as you possibly can. Now, with that, Claymore just covering themselves for a bit of a jump out for the office side. Of course, not going to be the direct bomb side, as the majority of FaZe is actually looking to straight go in from the top, and as Monty on Astro is definitely given the opportunity to do so.
I mean, the fact that the Monty can sort of push all the way in aggressively is because that side wall there is locked onto Karaoke. It gives them a little bit more breathing room. Usually you'll sometimes have a player with a shield and a rotate and a Wamai buying as much time as possible, but here, suddenly that Monty is just a bulletproof camera down on the rest of the floor, able to sort of cause problems, ping the players and give the caution of, well, we're going to swing you sooner rather than later. The one benefit of obviously that wall being locked is, well, they can't swing around the back. They can't just try and get the plant down onto the default without getting in and doing some textual work. Here, FURIA, they're just keeping a little bit of an arm's length, but look at that Astro, he's sticking the kit down in the meantime. They found their way through the door, a bit of an explosion on the far side, but Astro, he's just tucked in. Got himself right on the side of the door. FURIA weren't really in a position. They didn't really need the straight drive-through, and here, suddenly, they've got to try and retake everything. There's a Monty in the room, a smoke canister's forcing it. Souls takes care of Miracle, flashes round. On the opposite side, a little bit of a back and forth across the board. Souls retakes Geisha, and then Handy takes it right back. It's a cameraman to put them into a 1 versus 2. And it's a Monty versus a smoke that's out of canisters, and with a player on the window, with only a couple of seconds left, FaZe start as they mean to go on. It's a first round.
It's a first round on the way. Of course, the Monty still being out there was almost going to be impossible to win, with the last little bonk to come in as well. A nice little end to that round. FaZe taking that first. Quickly. A lot of pace. So the Monty offered, and with the lack of the rotation towards the black stairs, it is quite difficult to find yourself to fight against the Monty like that, because there's only really one angle you can fight from, and well, it so happens to be an extendable shield. So there's only one angle. There's not really going to be any threat. And as long as the Astro stayed alive on that Monty, there was also no danger of that post plant falling back into the hands of FURIA. So, towards the ground floor we go. Barbecue and Kitchen is going to be up next, as FaZe will have to go for yet another attack. It's the Azami to come in. One of the newest operators, of course, we have added to our competitive map pool, and she basically creates either mazes, that's what we see, for example, on Border near the CCTV area, where suddenly like so many keeper barriers pop up that it's kind of a maze you need to navigate through if you want to go for a gunfight. But also patches up these holes.
Well, the thing about Azami is she's had a huge amount of play. When she was introduced, there was a bit of fear. There was a bit of, uh-oh, she's very powerful. She can add a huge amount. And, you know, since obviously we've had Sens and we have a new operator on the way, but they were sort of introduced at exactly the same time. The close down was removed, and since then we have seen a lot of Azami and what bring instantly reinforcing drum. You give yourself a little bit more wiggle room on the approach on Terrace Door. You can lock them in. There's the pulse, though. The E1D tried to get a bit of an early catch. You're looking at what kind of worries you is another quick line up the Lion, the Candelas, the Nook as well to sneak up round on the backside and has a bullet. This might be a quick second phase.
Now, quick reload before the action does come through. 2:10. E1D comes off. That means that they want to go for a push at least somewhere or try and act upon information that they had before, but no kills come through. Makes you wonder what is going to go on as Cyber takes quite a lot of damage. It's the free fire with the 417. The kill to come through as Smoke Canister dealing a lot of damage, but actually down.
Cameraman, a bit of an up and down inside the smoke canister there. There was not really anything that you can do because, as you'll recall, the nanobots actually make you suffer that a lot quicker. Here, a steady second hold. They've been able to take a little bit of the ground back and make sure that FaZe cannot just swing their way around with gunfire. A drop on SDK isn't the end of the world. The cams will just be cams. Can there be focus on the follow-up? There's the Azami doing a bit of troublemaking over on the split, and even a bit more souls removed from the board.
They're finding the headshot. Keyboards are still being deployed left, right, and center. It is FURIA that wants to make sure it's going to be difficult for the rest of FaZe to move in. This Fantasy finds two. It's only up to Astro now on that Ying. He finds himself in, and the Nitro flies in from underneath. Miracle with the final kill. And we have an equal scoreline.
An important retake there over the side of Black Stairs. Just made sure FaZe, as I said, could not sort of force their strength in and take that bit of control. It's hastened, I suppose, the sort of recollection of ideas. There was the Azami that was in a bit of a lockdown on side Geisha, the back and forth with the Habana. FaZe seemed a little bit more locked out, a little bit more what we've seen from FURIA.
Now, of course, the majority of the public at home also favored FURIA for this matchup here. So we want to see that in this game. They managed to get that first defensive round, looking for their second, third, maybe even fourth. Start with 2. Now, as we're heading towards Exhibition in Office, lately we've been seeing quite a lot of clash out here, especially around the balcony that is directly on, I believe that is the south of the site. Stopping people from using that breach. Now, what we've also seen is the clash being out there and then making that soft so they can actually go for a bit of a run out.
But she's not here.
But she's not here. I know, but I was just...
It's a great point, though.
I was just debating it. It's like...
If she shows up in a round...
That is what you need to pay attention to. I know she wasn't there. I was just trying to go towards the fact that...
But what is...
It's a different side.
Here, which you don't see too much, is the Mirror Rare playing themselves a little bit further away. It seems like they want to lock in the bottom of Dragon, and rather than look out from inside the site, it seems like they want to look in towards it, the single hard wall and the soft line all the way along the quad wall itself. They've sort of said, come on, if you want to challenge it, what would usually be locked in and held by a clash, this time isn't even locked at all by the look of it. So instead they have to sort of force and funnel their way across what becomes a bit of a dead man's fight. It starts with potentially some play on the player underneath. Fantasy's playing it a lot closer towards the cubby, and they're trying to just force a FURIA player to slip into an engagement.
Gone 6 coming through will at least take care of any piece of utility on the other side of that flooring. Fantasy looks to go aggressive, hoping to stop any of these FaZe members on the other side of things, but can't quite find anything yet. Pushing coming in from the other side. LMG spraying through. They're just trying to put some pressure down upon the FURIA members wherever they can. Twitch drone also going around, I believe, and want to get rid of that mirror window.
Yeah, there it is. The attention's paid to it. As I said, there was a soft line, and they've turned it into a breach that you can actually move through, utilizing the Selmas, but the mirror is still locked in, tucked on a corner, and they've got to try and force them out, which means taking control of Drum, which means taking control of Terrace. And that is a minute 20. It's a bit of a tough, big ask and a big rotate. Oh, there's a take. Soul swings around the corner, takes the head off of Fantasy at the top of the stairs. Rare on the slow creep underneath is about to get caught by a drone. Cyber more than ready and able to swing round with that Finker. Do they know the location of Rare? This could be a huge, easy pick up against Cyber as another drone rolls past. Oh no, they saw him. Cyber gone.
Bringing it through a 3v5. Grenades now coming in from below, hoping to find any remaining of the defenders, but not quite hitting them as of yet. The Romans are starting to come back towards the side as FaZe is looking to take full control of it. Cyber takes up one, doesn't know about the second as of yet, but is going to be able to connect to him as well. It's only up to SDK. It's going to be able to find Bullet, needs to find 3 more if he wants to clutch this in favor of FURIA. So the diffuser could go down, but Souls just holds the angle, finds the head, and locks up the round for FaZe.
They knew exactly where it was going to come from, and they knew exactly how to stop it getting any further there. FaZe, as soon as they started to get a read on just the play, pull apart some of those looser players underneath. Don't go for the flat engagement on the second story where they've got the angles, and from that point onwards, it seemed like an easier close down that as well. The beat and the read on the pulse itself. As I said, Cyber took that one, and he knew he was on his way to a second one.
Round 4. Coming in. Headed towards the office again, I believe. No, it's going to be the bedroom instead. So we're headed towards a different side. It is going to be the first floor. We're headed to the 4th different one that FURIA is looking to show. And we are definitely going to be seeing a bit of an extension towards that top floor. So how much is Exhibition going to be of importance of this side? Now, there is going to be a lot of verticality to be gained there, so you can almost guarantee that the attackers would like to go there, especially in the bedroom. But if you look at the lineup of FaZe currently, there is quite of a lack of soft breach. There is no Slash, there is no Buck. You basically have Zofia with 3 breaching charges. That is going to be all you have. Now, that could be enough, but if Souls dies early on, that plan is out of the window.
And with the site now being down in bedroom, we'll start to see this. The extension over towards the barbecue and kitchen area. They're playing again this single loose player, but they've sent a single player to go for a hunt there right inside barbecue. Do they know how close they are to each other? Astro came in so fast to try and take this engagement. They're having doors knocked ahead of them to sort of keep the surprise factor. There's the surprise. Astro takes the head off of Fantasy, has cut his way down and right in the middle of the hold itself. Souls has come around to offer some support on the double, but in the meantime, Miracle's desperately looking for any support onto site. Cameraman gets rare across the board, and this is the pace. There's a great take. Red right into it. Handy can't quite hold on the opposite side of the stock supply line. SDK is removed 2.
And there was a very quick round we saw there. As they were down in the bedroom, didn't really matter. The fight didn't take place in the side. It took place all around it. FaZe more than happy to take it to them, to just go in aggressively. They had the information, they knew where they were going to be, and they just made sure that they could isolate these players and shut them down before they did any damage. Karaoke T back up. 2nd floor, FURIA on that defense still. If 2 more attempts are trying to make this into a 3-3. And that's what they kind of need to do. We said it before. Currently, Sky, during the major so far, has been a relatively defense-sided map. If you cannot win these defenses now, then you really need to come in strong in the second half.
Again, with the double lock at the top of Black Stairs, instead of having that rotate, trying to force them to play a game against it. And instead, we have, obviously, no Monty. This time, they've opted for something slightly different, and it's concerning in the pockets of Astro.
10 seconds to insertion.
It is. But the Ying is going to be coming out as we have the 6 invitational probabilities. Now, if FURIA will be to win this game, this best of 3, they would be finding themselves on a 99.99% chance of making it through, but it could be turning into 100, and the loss is 98. So they are basically fine. FaZe, however, really need to push through because they're currently on a 34 and could be pushing up to a 41. And if they win the whole thing, they might be finding themselves secured. Of course, not this match, the whole tournament, that is.
I'm not sure if that was just a prepped angle or a chance at a hop out, but very quickly they're going to try and make close friends with nobody, actually. Malusi moves away from the engagement. Cameraman also opts not to take it. They just want to get the space open and cause some problems slightly later on. Fantasy's going to wait in bated breath to see if he can be the death of anybody that wants that as an entrance, but FaZe aren't really playing that sort of game. They're either droning a very small window and absolutely smashing their way through it, or this, a slightly slower, slightly steadier breach and approach. The grenade almost removes Handy off the board. The spray on the loose player onto the side of the pantry is pushed further and further away from underneath there, looking to try and put a little bit more grenade pressure as Astro makes his way towards Karaoke window.
Slowly but steadily, FaZe are starting to get themselves around where they need to be, but they want to take care of these roamers on that bottom floor first. Of course, do have a couple of grenades in their pockets. Bullet has two, Cyber has one left, and you want to use this to the best of your ability. And, you know, from below, currently, it's one of the best opportunities to use. There you go, one of them, but doesn't do any damage. Might have just bounced back a little bit too early. Still one grenade left, though.
Astro doesn't want to go for the flat entrance there, the change of the hand of the kit. Maybe he does, and he's sort of saying, listen, there's one on the site, and I've got a pocket full of blinds. Let me see if I can try and just push my way in, tuck a plant once again, or try and pull some attention. They've rotated off, though. They've moved away from the site, back towards the top of the mid-stairs. Miracle's the first to suffer those souls. Is able to get that opening engagement. They've got a player under the double window, waiting for the hop-in. They've still got one tucked onto gold, and with just under a minute left, it's the Candelas. And the call and the cacophony of that noise, the sort of waiting mark. They're holding down on the corridor. There's the push of the flashes. There's the long-range smoke. There's the pop of the Candelas. They're trying to find a kill behind it. It's Cameraman who gets the man crossing across the other end of the corridor. Tucked behind the shield, SDK. He's buying as much time as possible. There's the breach on the wall we talked about a couple of times before. They have the concern of Bullet who's going to lock it in. It's Cyber that locks off one more, going for the cover of the plant inside the blind. Cyber goes down. The Nitro goes off. Rare is able to stop the kit going down. 20 seconds. They have the breach onto gold, the creep round now. They're well aware of the players, well aware of that one behind the shield. Do you know the last on the main stairs? Seemingly so.
He had the ping there. All he needed to do was press that button, shoot him down and stay alive. But it was denied in the end. Good lockout from FaZe. They had someone engaged, they had someone from the other side. Both of them able, of course, to hold these long angles, stop them from truly moving in. And now a tactical timeout had been called by FURIA. They think it is time after that 1-4 current trailing scoreline to have a bit of a check. What can we change? What is going wrong? Or is it just FaZe currently muscling themselves through the site? Making a difference that way.
I mean, it's that tricky sort of thing here because apart from the one round, FaZe have seemed pretty much cruise control. FURIA, they were sometimes described as being a little bit of a top-heavy team. They've done very, very well at having obviously new structure behind the scenes, bringing them the idea of sort of droning ahead their pushes. Their takes have been phenomenal in their attack, which is what we'll get to see on the second half of this game, but it's still worth sort of highlighting that this game on this map, regardless of whether it's against your for you as your choice, it's generally gifted itself towards defense. Having a little bit more 5-1 here would be pretty dangerous. A 4-2 against you, I mean, it's still not easy, but it's at least a little bit of breathing room.
There's a bit of breathing room indeed, and a little bit of room for error. But both these teams are better on their defense than they were on their attack over the 3 times either of these two teams have played it. Both FaZe and FURIA vastly outscoring themselves compared to their own attacks. So with that said, FaZe definitely is having the better papers right now as they're headed into that second half in just a moment, because they still need to play that last round. Round 6, where it can either be 5-1 or FURIA is going to be able to at least put an extra round on the board. And as you just mentioned it yourself, give themselves the extra breathing space. It could be so important, especially after you just had your tactical timeout. This is when momentum needs to start to shift.
I think it's turned into a little bit of a game of, obviously all of them are superstars, but superstars aren't quite showing up to the level that they'd probably want. On the side of FaZe, it's not the biggest problem. Cyberzera is an animal, but he's playing a little bit more of a tepid game at the same time. Cameraman and Souls are picking up that mantle. Fantasy and Miracle, similar position to Cyberzera. They can usually entirely control the momentum, but here it's sort of being bipped and bopped around them. The pressure on towards Karaoke. They're still droning and looking for those loose players that they've done very well over the previous rounds.
Handy swinging around near Dragon. Just looking to be partially on that roam. Hope to find an early entry, but FaZe not really having it. This bullet's coming around the corner. Gets taken out by Miracle. Are going to be well aware now of a player inside of the pantry. E1D goes off. Hopefully they can try and respond to it. At least that's the usual case for it. FaZe looking to bite back after they have just lost the entry. Soul's opening up onto Geisha is definitely going to be starting to help that, at least to take that top floor control. Astro has some good information down there on Miracle, actually.
Miracle, is he tempted by another bit of pressure? Is he going to see if he can hold on to his life and the advantage and maybe the pocket of the C4 as long as possible? They still have that vertical control. Cyber is just going to actually try and scream his way through into the side, looking for a loose player. There's nobody. Astro might go for a hop-in on the window at the same time. There's a free one. Around on the back of the barbecue bar, and FURIA at this point, they're trying to find their way through back into the site that was theirs. That to the top of the stairs. Nobody's holding the angle, but they still need to try and find some little pockets of space of safety.
And Cyber just saw that jump down from Rare, but he instantly went back up. Astro, in the meantime, is getting that diffuser down. 45 seconds on the clock for FaZe. FURIA are unable to do anything about it, and they're all outside as well. Cyber's still going a bit more aggressive, but FaZe has set themselves up perfectly. It looks very unlikely like FURIA can bring this back, but they do find Cyber, so it's a good start. And as Astro takes damage as well on the upside down repel, suddenly FURIA are into this post plant here. They can actually retake this against Cameraman and Souls.
Cameraman tucked around in the corner, gets into a big engagement, but Fantasy's able to slip and slide his way through. There's one. There's almost two. He's just pulled back. Cannot quite get the spray. 13 seconds. They've got to take the fight. There's one more. He's on the kit. Did they know he's on the kit? He can't get up. And he's just going to hold on. And SDK clutches it off.
The Maestro going outside, and if you need to send one operator outside and try and suppress that one player on the rappel, what better operator to do it with than the Maestro carrying the Elder, making sure there was the opportunity to deny the man onto the counter defuse, and thus FURIA find themselves with 2 rounds against the 4 of FaZe. Again, the defense side is favored. FaZe definitely do have a leg up in this current quarterfinal for this first map. But, as per usual, there's always 2 sides to a game of Siege, and we have just had the swap. Who knows, maybe FURIA, their attack against FaZe is going to be even better than what we've just seen from FaZe.
I mean, obviously, you want to trust that this player will do this. It's still a risk based on the intel.
Yeah.
If the player on the kit then goes down to just a lucky posture, it doesn't matter what you do outside of that point. You're not going to be making it back to the kit in time. Gamble pays off. Sometimes you've got to try and make those rolls at the die. FaZe do. It's the reason that they're able to sort of go, well, the site's clear. Okay, you've got the kit. Hop in the window. They did a little bit of work just after, just ensuring that there was nobody so decidedly close towards it, and then held it, put it down in a 8 people still alive situation.
Yeah, and that often, you know, does come down quite scrappy. It could be either the attackers completely lock you off, there's nothing you can do about it, or suddenly you start fighting back, suddenly you start finding that aggression, the effectiveness, the kills that come through. And that's what was the case with FURIA. But they're on the attack now. They need to plan these executes. They need to focus on getting that kit down. Again, we will be in Barbecue and Kitchen. We'll be starting right where we left off. FaZe thinking they can also get the defensive round win around here. So we do have a Frost. Cameraman playing close on the actual window near the pantry.
FURIA, are they attempting something quick here? There's the burn, there's the pop through, there come the Candelas, and here we go. Now over the top, finding their way through. They're inside the site itself. They can't quite get the full connection, but they're trying to find the connection with the kit on the floor. There it is, holding off everyone on bay. There's Astro from the top rope. Cannot get the second body. Swung around and blowed up all over the shot, but a 3 versus 1. At this point, Rare, suddenly all that is left. Blinked and you missed it, apart from the one person wearing the goggles that could protect them. They know very much where Rare has decided to put themselves, and FaZe, they're sort of making the statement of, okay, you're next.
Tony up to Rare now. The diffuser almost went down. They almost found themselves on a post plant if it wasn't for Astro. Candelas to come in. Oh, there it is. Valkyrie camera. He's been given away the entire time. They know exactly where he's going to be coming from. And as the first Candela pops, he's rotating all the way around, headed towards the black stairs, hoping to find a bit of an entry there. There's still plenty of time on the clock, 75 seconds to find 3 players on FaZe. The first one in Barbecue, prone on the other side of the wall. One on the back of the kitchen, but his bullet that is just a little bit sharper here right now finds the headshot and locks in the round for FaZe.
Well, they set themselves up for that little bit of pace. but FaZe just had the wherewithal to be able to rebuff it. The positions came through, and obviously Astro slipping his way down from the hatch, stopping the plant on the kit itself, not caught by the player that was outside.
Quickly going for the replays here. I want to see Astro come down. Like, this was perfect timing. Look at that. 1.5 seconds left. If he was just a little bit held up by Rare, who was apparently out there.
It was just trade for trade.
It was trade for trade coming through, but the plant was denied. That's the most important part, because then you don't have that time pressure against you as the defenders. Now, it is 5-2 for FaZe. They need 2 more rounds to get this first map under their belt. And they are kind of like, if you look at the statistics, if you look at previous meetings between these two teams, FaZe, they win the best of 3s. That's what they normally do. But FURIA has been on a different kind of rhythm throughout this tournament. They have been doing quite well. They've been finally making it out of the groups here, now in quarters. And they really want to push it further than that. But FaZe, of course, they are that experienced team. They have won a major already. And are looking to go aggressive right now as Bullet, I believe, is just sitting in the opening of Geisha, hoping to find a bit of a rappel they can instantly shut down. And I think Rare is going to be giving him that.
That's it. They're waiting for the call. There comes the motion up to the top. And where are they going to go from here? There's a hot drone just ahead of them. And there's Fantasy taking the feet and the head off of the player cut in half. The reveal of the throw out outside, problems caused by Cyber. Astro is trying to find a refrag on the end of it. They've obviously lost out on Bullet and the heavy hitting rifle, but you assume at least the Aruna's been able to put all the pocket gadgets down. It's Souls, but SDK instantly responds with one of their own.
They're really trying to take control now off that western side of the building. Cyber will be able to find Rare, and we're stuck in that 3-on-3 situation again with FaZe having 2 minutes left to defend, but they do have complete side control. You look over towards the left, and there is 3 Selmas, there is a bunch of concussions and impacts and adrenaline surges. So if you look at purely utility, FURIA have plenty left to work with here against FaZe. So FaZe, they really need to try and disturb them here. They need to shut them down before they are getting to work. And as SDK is headed down from below, he has that one grenade that could be coming in from below and suddenly turn the tide in favor of FURIA.
I mean, that's it. You're looking at, mainly on the side of FaZe, big guns, but in the hands of big gunners, what can they do? Sometimes everything, especially throughout how scrappy some of these fights have ended up. SDK just going to hold at the bottom of the stair set, wait for somebody that might try and descend in a fashion that might turn into disorderly very quick. There is still a bit of a steady drone, and maybe the all clear to potentially start pushing a bit closer. There is the side and a sliver of Souls. Tucks in, Miracle with the pre-fire. Takes out the camera. It's this drone game. Again, something we talked about with FURIA before. It's massively improved from their positions before. Is it enough to force this win?
The Salvation Station, though, will be able to get Souls back up to nearly full HP, which allows him to continue fighting with a grenade from below. It's going to be taking him out there, so he healed himself back up, but now got taken out. VIP opened up by Handy soon as well with these Selmas, as it is Cyber that strikes back. We continue trading on as the push from the VIP stairs is unbound.
They're throwing themselves up now. They know they're running out of time. VIP and holding onto the angle. Where are the 2 lost players? There's one much closer than I think they think, and it's a bit of a scrappy fight, but against an LMG, it's tough to pull out Cyber. All that's left right now to see if FaZe can put themselves onto map point. The 2 players are stacked up a little and deciding to rotate and hot-foot it elsewhere, see if they can stick the plant itself. They don't need to.
I was afraid for a second there, because Cyber was actually watching this window, but he stepped back at the wrong moment there. Timing didn't really treat him well there. I think there's one FURIA fan currently in the crowd.
I think it's Alamau.
Is it Alamau? Oh, I see him. I see the FURIA fan. All right, let's go. They won a round. Let's go. They can still get back into it. Don't worry. 3-5. FaZe only need a round to find themselves at that map point. FURIA still have a lot to close, though.
I think that's it now. It's 1, but 1 more and 1 of many. Seemed to be a little bit more attuned to how FaZe were setting themselves up before. They obviously fell apart a little on that rush attempt, but that seemed to have some of more, FURIA's playstyle that got them into this position. Obviously, FaZe ended up losing their first seed.
Yeah, due to a 7-0 by G2 being handed to them. of course, earlier the loss as well, where they could have locked it in. But that puts us in this position where FaZe suddenly had to face one of the other LATAM teams, and FURIA will be the one that they're going up against. 3-5, still the scoreline. One round for FaZe, and they don't get a point, but at least they put the pressure on to FURIA. FURIA cannot no longer afford mistakes at that point. And that's what they will be aiming for. Now, FURIA looks to go a bit quicker here, take control of Exhibition, take control of the office, and after that, get Geisha, get Gong. Make sure that you can start opening onto the back of gold so you can truly displace these defenders around Karaoke and T.
Cyber holding onto the window with the last round ended. It might be the first frag that we have across this board. Tucked itself just a little around the corner. Unexpected, maybe some more attention to be paid, but FURIA, as we said, they've started to peel themselves a little bit more aware of it. There's the first bullet. Removed the cover, and Cyber bites back. Finds the trade out. Who needs his support when he is the support structure for himself? SDK wants to make sure nobody else can get into a position to give him a way out. Cyber's on the other side. Does he know? Apparently so. The kit goes cold outside the terrace door.
That means that needs to be recovered now. It's quite of a difficult position to actually get in as the attackers. And FURIA will be deciding to go for a bit of a rotate. You saw them there walk away from Rare's POV. He's still holding on to the staircase there, to the living room staircase. He doesn't want to have anybody come down and, spread through different parts of the map to go for that roam. Luckily, though, if FaZe really want to, there's multiple ways out. You can also go out from the Gong mezzanines and just drop down into the restaurant area. But they don't decide to do that now. They want to stay around that side. They want to turtle it down now to have that man advantage and let FURIA work for their round. The fuser still needs to be recovered. It's going to be taking another 10, 20, maybe 30 seconds if they're not quick enough with these drones, because there's only one currently doing all the work.
And it's a quick rotate inside the building, but a very long one out. And that's the sort of idea that they're playing right now. Get clarity onto terrace, see where they've pulled themselves back to, and now we can start to have a bit of an approach here. FaZe, they realize that they didn't need to keep such a tight grasp on the other half of the map. The site itself has still the support of, as you said, Drum and Gold, and what falls behind it, it's all electrified, and they don't really have anything to fry their way through apart from just gunning it out. And it isn't an easy combination at this point. No more calls from the side of the pocket of Rare, but they do at least have one more E1D.
It's going to be 2 DMRs on the side of FURIA here and an LMG. Of course, they all hit hard. You only need 2 shots, but rate of fire is definitely something you'd like to have right now in these last 20 seconds. As the push starts to come in, smoke canisters will slow them down, so that means these last 10 seconds are crucial.
There's the C4 pop, and the excitement starts to happen onto Gold. SDK finds the back of the Bandit, but only a pocket full of seconds left and no kit in it. SDK's going for the round route towards it, but by the time they get to it, this is one more FaZe round.
And that means they only need one more if they want to be locking off this very first map in their favor. FURIA can no longer afford any of these mistakes they have been making. They need to be quicker at the drones, especially after you lose one of those members. It took them up about 20, 30 seconds before they even started working towards recovering that diffuser, and even then, only had one drone truly working towards that goal. That is something you cannot have, you cannot afford. And that puts FaZe up onto map point. Just map point, because we are, of course, in that best of 3. This is map 1. FURIA have plenty of time to get back into it, but really want to come out swinging, and that's currently what FaZe is doing onto their defense. If we look over to the attack, we see Ying coming out instead of the Dokkaebi. Still see the A, Sophia, Finka, the Nuck as well. But if that Ying is on the board, do they want to go for another sneaky push, like a plant that they tried to go for before, if it wasn't for Astro jumping down from the top ropes, stopping it from happening, denying the post plans of FURIA, and allowing FaZe to pick up an extra round?
FURIA are a team that plays like it's no-no. It's something that's always said about, and they never know when a game's over. So for them, this one is far from it. To be fair, it's not that far away. It's down to them to see if they can break through FaZe, who would much rather have it, and sooner rather than later, and give themselves a quicker, more controlling drive into Chalet. Some fair awareness of the loop round, and there's SDK removed off the board almost instantly. The Finker gone, 2 grenades. Fantasy suffers in a scrap elsewhere as well, and they're seemingly starting to lose all the bodies right underneath before they even begin their approach.
FaZe feel really confident right here. They're just bringing the fight to the outside. Syra goes for a bit of a run out, goes for a bit of an adventure, actually gets punished for it. Unable to find a FURIA player, and instead gets picked up as Miracle finds Bullet as well. Suddenly FURIA have that man count advantage, but still, they need to work towards getting that plan. They need to work towards getting that top floor under control, because that is what they lacked before.
Astro making his way across, just catches the drone out, and the player was about to zip their way up to try and catch them too. They still technically have vertical control. They still have themselves a little bit to work with, but a man disadvantage. Astro has the hatch soft. I'm not sure if he's pinging it. There it is, because he's used his impact, so he needs the help and support and safety of a friend to get out of there. The breach starts to come against the wall. Nook, a steady clear from VIP clearance, but no one to be found.
Not as of yet. Still 100 seconds left on the board. It's plenty of time. Not even past the halfway mark yet. FURIA have so much time to try and clear out these last remaining defenders as they do start to fall back. Handy now wants to take control of Geisha, and FaZe are all down onto the ground floor. No roamers out there anymore. Still the opportunity to go for one though, as Astro is slowly sneaking around. He's trying to put himself up into VIP, so maybe he can strike them as they enter through Gong.
Miracle. He takes a bit of a bite there, but Rare is there to quickly offer some support. Astro's got to hot-foot it back towards the site in the 2 versus 4. Can he do something massive here on the vertical retake? He just misses one, though. Rare turns to the right direction at the right time, leaves Souls well and truly alone. The C4 got nobody. FURIA have 50 seconds to try and close themselves down onto the site. They're steadily trying to find the location of the player. And they're about to here. They just need to send 2 in at once. There he is. There's the grand reveal. There's a hold on towards the stair set that's about to probably find somebody, but no. They're still happy to weigh up, and the first gets scrapped and scraped. The second gets dropped. He tucks into a corner. He's just missed them. Crouch walk past there behind the chassis, going for the plant. The swing onto the Nook. Can't quite connect all the way. They're buying time, and he's out of bullets. Everybody's spraying everything at this engagement, but out to post plant, and they don't need to take the fight. They just had to buy distraction. FURIA.
I was going to say, it's almost impossible for FURIA to lose that round. 50 seconds, 4v1, still drones on the board. All you need to do is locate him, hold the exits, make sure he cannot leave, and then slowly start to collapse on him. And yes, he got one as you move down the stairs, but after that you saw 2 members just continuously pushing bullets down range, making sure that if he moves out, he would be taken through. That was a really good shot, by the way, reinforcing from the other side, wall banked into pantry. And now, FURIA 2 rounds away from bringing us to OT. 4-6. As the exhibition is called upon here by FaZe. Reinforcements this time to come around rather than slide openings on the bottom side. However, just one side though. So the other one is going to be left soft. So they cannot really go for an opening. They cannot really go for hard breach because you're kind of exposed if you do so.
FaZe just need to connect one more dot. Barbecue, okay. It was theirs the first time, and the second not so much. It's been a little bit of a back and forth between Exhibition and Karaoke. But still, 2 more chances to send this game over to Chalet. 2 more they're more than happy to take. Obviously, FURIA have taken their tech time out. FaZe still have that option if they think that there's something to talk about, potentially if this round goes away from them before they find themselves hurtling into OT.
So I'm thinking as well, if they lose this one, it's going to be a tech timeout. But at the same time, you also give FURIA the opportunity to talk. So FaZe, they might be thinking about just leaving it as is. 4-6, E1D goes off. Opening will be made onto the VIP wall. They want to get this done quickly. FURIA want to have as much time left as they possibly can. There's a bit of a worry due to that Alibi Prisma being out there. It's always going to be on your screen. Enemy outside. You need to deal with it at some point. But it's kind of a waste of time if you do so. I mean, it's annoying, but if you put time and attention towards it, you're basically walking right into the trap that FaZe has set for you.
Well, there's a trap, Handy. The man who got the kit down, and the last kill in the last round is the first off this time. Astro is able to get that early lead in. Another entry statistic goes into the way of FaZe Clan here. Fantasy with a pop. He wants to get closer and closer to this engagement and find it. He's not quite able to get the lock in, but Cyber sure does. Offers some support, and the breach needs to start to come behind it. Rare with the Candelas. Throwing them in towards Exhibition in the back line. The grenade comes over the back. The pre-fire spray on the one player that got slipped loose. SDK wasn't given anything onto the Dragon Swing and misses when he actually is. Cannot quite connect the dots here, FURIA. A lot of missed calls and missed moments. Miracle on the back line. Trying to dig his way through onto Terrace. Rare is going for a big rotate underneath. The three players have themselves set up in a three-point push, but is there anyone that they can pull away from it? Tucked around on the short box, blinded by his own player. It's blind sprays. SDK, you got to offer some support here. They're suffering, and so are you. Cameraman gets one. It's Souls with one more. All left the Miracle. There's a body down. There's a scrappy one, but it's FaZe Clan to take the first map.
They take the first, and now they'll head to Chalet in a couple of minutes to try and lock it up with a 2-0. To yet again beat FURIA in a best of 3 like they always have. And they'll be more than happy with this one. Well locked off. The stats slightly favored them, especially after that first half. A 4-2 split on the attack is something to be truly happy about here.
We will be throwing to a quick break before we're back with our analysts to break it down.
Right to leave Rainbow. We are stronger than we've ever been, and our new recruits legitimize us in the eyes of many skeptics. What is a high price tag when success is guaranteed? Our results speak for themselves and give us leeway to operate as we wish. The world is not designed to foster talent. Fall in line. Do what is expected of you. In my life, I've often found that the great rarely fit traditional standards. When you confine excellence, it suffocates.
Ace, wall down in 5. Thinker, prepare for a rush.
In removing these restraints, I have redefined what an operational unit can be.
Forward, now! Go, 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 go!
Some might see us as selfish and opportunistic. Let them. Nighthaven will leave them in the dust as we saw.
Welcome back, friends. After our Nighthaven, I guess, ad that was just being shown, and that'll be more to Sunday. So make sure you're tuning in for the reveal of the next kind of chapter of Rainbow Six. Welcome you back on the analyst desk. I'm Milosh. With me are Fresh and Pengu, and FaZe Clan were just able to bring out their first victory here in the first map, 7-4 on Skyscraper, a map that I'm very happy that we got to see. But we want to talk strategy, because we talked about the map and how difficult it can be and natural expansions. You know, the normal thing nerds do. So, Pengu, can you please help me out here? What did you see strategically?
So honestly, when we look at Skyscraper in this matchup with FaZe and FURIA, naturally I'm already thinking FaZe is going to win. Why? Because Skyscraper is not like a huge open map where you can just run around like crazy, which is what FURIA's playstyle is all about. And sure, when FURIA was on the attack, they got the armor on Fantasy, they got in quickly, and they got a couple of kills, but they couldn't really get a foothold anywhere on the map because FaZe, they hold onto the ground so well. They do that natural expansion to one area, they hold on super, super hard, and they chill out. And then FURIA, they can't quite problem solve it. The trades from FaZe are way too good. And when FaZe was on their attack, they had all the gimmicks, as I said, right?
Yeah.
A Monty round, an Amara round, a Ying round, and those couple of things, those pocket strats, they just got them those couple of rounds that they needed to get that round advantage.
And that's what the big thing was, that round advantage. As soon as they were 4-2 on the attack, you start thinking this is a team that actually loves defending out Skyscraper, and it only took, you know, 3 or 4 more rounds before they confirmed the game. And I think ultimately, in a way, FURIA are probably a little bit upset with G2. Because they should have been the #1 seed going out of that group, and FURIA could have had a much easier time of things, but they probably picked one of the best second seed team coming in.
I want to ask you a question that, you know, some people kind of struggle with when they see operator bans. They're like, oh, why did they ban this operator over the other one? Thatcher, you know, everybody sees Thatcher gets banned in Pro League, so of course they ban it in the ranked games because that's how it's supposed to go, right? But what happens here with the Oryx ban from FURIA against FaZe? Is this targeted? What is it supposed to act for on Skyscraper?
Honestly, I can't tell you exactly the reason what's for it, because I feel like if you're FURIA and you're up against FaZe, I feel like you'd want more firepower on your side, if anything. Obviously, the Oryx going to limit how aggressive FaZe can play. Yeah. But even with that limitation, FaZe still out-aggressed FURIA, I would say, because they won their 1v1s. They got more opening kills. They had better trades. And overall, it seemed like FaZe just had a better play on Skyscraper as an individual map overall.
Jack?
I agree. Like, the Oryx ban is something that, unless it's blatantly obvious, it's one of them is, you don't know if it's comfort. Oryx is, you know, if you see it against Leon Gage, you get it, right? But when it's just a kind of comfort thing, he is the fastest operator. It does allow a lot of mobility, so maybe there was that.
I feel like you could have banned the Monty. You know FaZe loves to play. They played on Clubhouse, they played on Bang, they played on Skyscraper.
And it cost them straight away, right?
Exactly. Yeah. First round, it's a Monty carry T attack, and we spoke about this in prep. They walk in, they get diffuser down, round success, post-ban is good. But they banned the Oryx. On defense, that is. Of course, it's not an attacker, but it just speaks to you can target ban FaZe in other areas that might have been more impactful, if you will.
Yeah, and those reverse repels, you know, depending on it, this is bread and butter of EU for looking back 3 years ago, but, you know, times have kind of revolved around many different changes. But let's talk about our scoreboard and the players' performance in said matchup. Put it up on the screen for you, our match summary. And looks like Souls is still having a banger of a time. Honestly, the man's been competing since pretty much your days, Pengo, and he's still doing pretty darn well.
He is, but he hasn't gotten that much recognition until the last like 6 to 9 months, right? Because that's when he started making those international debuts, and his performance is. When he first kind of got international, people said it's like the Brede of LATAM, right? He's a squad player.
I was waiting for somebody to say Can we let him be his own man at some point?
No, I mean, okay, so I hate comparing players to players because like apples are apples, but Souls is like a support player who gets frags, clutches, etc. Massive impact for his team, but he is Souls. He is an individual who's made a name for himself.
So Pengu is like the Fabian of NA.
No. No. Fabian and I are nothing alike in any way.
I mean, you're a nice guy.
I'm a nice guy for starters. No, Milosh, no.
In terms of they retired in their talent now, so it's PTSD.
Yeah.
Well, we got our highlights playing here, and you see a lot of that window play, and seems like a lot of teams are just comfortable with getting picks on windows because of the amount of open space you can abuse on Skyscraper before you even get to the Drum Dragon area.
I think that's the thing, Milosh, is that, you know, we talked about that. I talked about how teams can stagnate up in the kind of Drum Dragon area. When you play the Ying, when you play the Monty, when you play the Amara, when you play anything that, you know, Nick called gimmick operators, it actually allows you to skip steps. That's why it's a gimmick, right? Because you don't have to go through a default attack. So when FaZe are doing that, what that allows them to do is so much more time to actually set up these executes because they rely on these gimmicks to do so. It works perfectly.
Yeah. And I think it's also it shows FaZe's both experience as a roster and as a team, but also they understand that while you can't just be the better shot, you can be the better shot and have these pocket strats or gimmick strats, and you just get the best of both worlds, really. And it's hard to play against a prep 4 because there are so many different factors that you got to consider each and every single round.
That's the difficulty when you're going up against teams that are so decorated. Reminder, FaZe won, you know, the Sweden Major. Of course, this is a squad that has seen a lot of success, but they've also been to so many events that only really kind of breaks you in for it. Plus, most of the time you're playing against the top teams in the world inside of Brazil, especially now they're playing on LAN, et cetera, all of these factors, you know, give FaZe that advantage. That FURIA, obviously, they can go wide and get really aggressive in the meantime, but that's an extra thing to consider. We have a moment. I'm just going to annoy production for just a moment and talk about our next. I can do that, but you know,
that's cool.
This is me. Yeah, that's not a cool thing when we're done after. But Chalet, really quick. Okay. What would you like to see in that map from FURIA, maybe to take it to map 3?
I think naturally it's going to favor FURIA more because on Chalet you can run around more, you can take those fights and confrontations, but I still think FURIA needs to, first of all, operator bans, try and target ban FaZe clan, try and hurt them somewhere because this is a domestic matchup, they play each other every single week and scrim each other every single week in the LATAM. You need to bring something out that they haven't seen before, right? Or do a little bit of a wow factor move. So I think because you're down a map already, just go all in.
Just go all in. I think this is, in terms of preference, I have this as FaZe's eighth preference map. I have FaZe playing an 8-map pool. They have one permaban, which is, if you let me scroll, is Border, right? And then they play 8 maps. But they've not played FURIA on Chalet before. But this is definitely should be FURIA's map pick. They're much more comfortable playing it. Even though, and I will say this, they don't actually have a good round win percentage on it, Milosh.
Okay. So do you see this going to map 3? Just that's it. I've annoyed them enough.
No. I think FaZe have got way too much quality. I think, honestly, the worst opponent FURIA could have got was FaZe, because FaZe just have a really good read on this team. They're better than them in best of 1s. They're better than them in a best of 3. I can't see FaZe losing it.
You agree?
A 7-5 for FaZe.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
It'll be close.
It'll be close. FURIA might just, backs against the wall, and that might be something of a different that they can use. So thank you, Pengu. And Fresh, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, it'll be potential on to FURIA. Maybe take it map 3, survive here in the quarterfinals of the Berlin Major, or will it be FaZe to take it through 2-0 and join us in the semifinals? We'll see you in a few minutes, and that'll be Hap and Fluke to take you through the whole story in a moment. Enjoy.
I'm going to keep it in English this time. Welcome back, Berlin. We are about to get underway with our second match or second map of this quarterfinal. My name is Hap. With me is still Emmy, and in the back we have the crowd waving at you, who are back at home watching, of course, to find out which of your LATAM teams is going to be making it through.
That's it. Obviously, they're going to be up against another Latin American team who have already found their way through. This is finding out our last semi-finalist before we roll into the games tomorrow. If you missed the first map, FaZe 1 map up, it was theirs. Now we're going to be heading to the Icy Cool, which I think everybody here is going to be quite happy about, of Chalet, to see if FURIA can try and push themselves onto a third map.
Bit of snow, bit of
oh, I would love that.
Cool ski resort to go through.
Appreciate that.
Nice little holiday ID coming through right here.
Throw a snowball at Dez.
Not just one. Just get like one of those automatic snowball launchers and then either way, what is at stake? Well, the semi-finals are at stake, and we're headed towards Chalet. If FaZe manage to win this one, no matter what the score is, it is going to be them headed towards the semi-finals. If it will be FURIA, we will see a map number 3. Loud music, it's hard to talk over.
Yeah, you just gotta let it play out now.
Yeah, you're gonna play out.
Before in groups, when you didn't have it echoing around the whole room, the sound is really cool in this room.
It definitely is.
It's a theatre.
Is it now?
Yes. All right. Chalet and the side of, well, these two teams, to be honest, neither of them has massively hidden it. I think that's the sort of split of things. 50% win rate for the side of FURIA over the past rough 3 months, and actually a 66% win rate for the side of FaZe. They played it 1 time less.
We're getting the waves going on again.
Yeah.
40 bands. Let's just play it out. Ying's sledge removed. First defender now in the way as well. I doubt it's going to be a Cade. A Valkyrie could be on the board. Mirror maybe even. Let it play out. Hey! It's the zombie.
We'll talk about these after.
Yeah, let the crowd have that.
We'll let the crowd have their moment.
For sure.
They deserve it.
They deserve it.
It's better than when Parker got.
They're actually doing a wave now as well, going from front to back. Very nice.
I'm so excited to see that grow over the weekend. It's like we went to Charlotte and Parker got the crowd booing at the screen. And then here the crowd is just, I think it's a sports crowd in Europe. Yeah. They were booing at Parker medics, as just said in my head. Fair enough.
It wasn't about not having the right cards.
It was about something else. All right. Wine Cellar and Snowmobile Garage. The removal of the Ying. It was causing a couple of problems, I think, before. It was a bit of a tip to the spear that FURIA doesn't want to sort of risk running around and behind. Sure, they bought it themselves for some of the approaches. It didn't quite have the same effect. We saw it used once or twice by FaZe in the most recent map, but it's something FaZe can use well.
Now, FaZe is pretty 50-50 on this map, even though, of course, they haven't won all of it. But if you look at their percentage of win rates on the rounds itself, pretty evenly spread out. If you actually look at FURIA, slightly lower than that. 45% on the defense, 55% on the attack. And one FURIA fan, again, is giving them all they need. Give them the energy.
FURIA! There we go.
Now there's more joining in. All right. Round 1 on the way. We are in the basement. We are in Snowmobile and Y. And let's see how it plays out. FURIA on that defense. Are they going to be able to make the difference here from the get-go? Or is FaZe going to lead in with the same amount of pressure and momentum as they had in that previous map?
FURIA, forever the bridesmaid, never quite progressing deeper enough to be the bride. They haven't really had the best time at majors, but they've been so consistent at getting to them, and this throughout their groups was their best performance throughout the groups before. Sort of started to hit a bit of a head here against FaZe. Obviously, there was no inter-region matchups inside, so this is their first true taste to somebody that knows them truly inside and out. The breach comes through pretty quickly onto the side of Snowmobile. Just going to make it uncomfortable. Bullet finds a fight, trying to creep his way right round onto the side, and the approach here from the bottom of West Main. CyberZero, he's going to see if he can get control of Fireplace in the second story. You need to lock down Dining and that hatch if you want to try and slip a plant, but you've still got Rare on the top ropes with Fantasy stacked up on the stairs.
Next, the thermic, I believe, just went off. They are starting to open up onto the side on many different of these angles. You mentioned it, Rare, before. He's on that top floor. He's about to receive a bit of a present, though, from Cyber. Doesn't spot him around the corner somehow, Rare, with the first kill.
Tucked himself in right up against it, knew the pressure was going to start to explode and decided, well, let's try and pop them before it becomes a problem. Souls just misses out on an engagement, and Handy takes bullet. Now he's looking back to see what he missed, and he's missing everything. There's the kit off on the far end, the Narnia. And Souls is left on West Main. They still seem to have a bit of an awareness that are players here. There's two of them ready. If one goes down, the next is going to swing into it. There it is, the first. And Souls and Cameraman both get one apiece at the same time. SDK, an important moment here. He's got to try and win this out. It's technically a 1 versus 1, but look how separated the FURIA players are. At the same time, FaZe, there's just a hatch technically that separates the two of them.
As long as they have control of that hatch, it is going to be Cameraman in a position, but the hatch is gone. Souls gets taken out. And it's only up to him now in a 1v3 situation. No diffuser inside either for him to use and plant. So he needs to sneak around. Heads into blue. Quickly checking his corners. Is going to be checking the staircase as well. Spots out the player. Detonates the Falcon. It's going to be keeping him at bay there. But, you know, his position has been known to know exactly where he's going to be coming from. Gets swung on from below. Fantasy with the kill. It's allowing FURIA to pick up the first round here on Chalet.
Opened up FURIA with the first. And to be honest, it was a little bit back and forth the last game before it started to entirely slink and slip away from them. At this point, it, I guess, becomes more of a conversation of can they keep this roller going? With things going how they are, we saw a lot of control by FaZe for a big portion of the opening half of the map. FURIA, they sort of struggled getting everything thread together, but here, off to a better start.
Definitely are off to a better start. And they want to continue that. They want to push this to a map number 3. They want to make sure they have the opportunity to fight for their semi-final. And it starts here on Chalet, after they've just lost out on that very first map, to see if they can hold on to whatever it is they are looking for. Now, with that first one going that way, that is the start of potential momentum that can be built upon as they set themselves up this time around for the kitchen and dining area. Rare, the man with the magical glasses, is on a bit of a roam. He's down below. Not going to be too helpful at the very first couple of seconds if he stays here and the side gets attacked directly. His SDK finds Souls with a bit of a spawn peek. Rare wasn't trying to as well. He wanted to give a bit of support, but now we'll head back towards the site.
Another very early take, a very quick breakthrough there. Souls gone. They lose an important player on the previous map, and they lose the Twitch. It's going to be a huge plethora of utilities still put apart and across proxies, bulletproofs, and of course, all the gadgetry, ADSs, and discs. So how are you going to have to try and fight your way through without so much support on those very important pressure points of burn? Obviously, you've got the main stairs. You've got SDK as well, just an upside-down rappel across the bow.
Rappel incoming. Bullet trying to put up that pressure onto the library. It's crucial in your conquest to take that top floor. It is the way in directly. E1D pops and hopefully someone to follow up behind it, but instead it's just going to be information. They know exactly where Fantasy is going to be located now. RC Reterras are coming around the corner as well, pushing back into the bathroom area. Still has the opportunity to push out, of course, but slowly but steadily the FaZe members are starting to surround him there, and you already have them up on the double window on the back here near Solarium, so Fantasy's kind of stuck in the bathroom.
Waiting patiently for the burn game that happens. He can't do it alone, so he's hoping that Cyber's Era can put a little bit of distance in and try and pressure the players out. But there's one talk, as you said, inside bathroom. That drone, did it see him? I guess that's a question we're going to have answered in a second. Fantasy's going to answer it himself. There's a take, there's a cold kit, there's a second. Doesn't quite get the connection. There it is. Cyber is just able to find the map. They're still trying to push behind the momentum that they built before. They're obviously still a body down. Lost the player onto the windows. And FURIA pull themselves back towards the site.
Grenades to be used, but will be caught off by an ADS that literally just activated again. So no damage done. Of course, there was no players out there. No need to worry. As Astro gets quite close, receives a return fire from Miracle with the 9mm. Leaves it only up to Cyber now in a 1v3 situation. If he wants FaZe to win, he needs to clutch this out. 40 seconds, it's plenty of time.
That's it, all the time in the world now, but unfortunately none of the friends to try and achieve it with. And Attempt on the catch on the loose player. Nothing, at least has the kit in pocket, but I don't believe they've been able to do any construction and destruction onto the site before they can actually make it. So you've still got locked box and the angles that they want to go through. There's a big rotation coming from underneath. One on the far end of the table is going to be your first engagement. They don't need to swing until it becomes an ask. Again, more peppers and pre-fires. They know where you are. Gets one out the door, but no more.
No more than that. It's FURIA now, 2-0. Starting off. Oh, he has binoculars with him.
Truly has gone to the theater.
Let's bring the binocs.
If only he has them on the end of a stick.
There's room for improvement over the next 3 days then. Now, beautiful shot by the way from Miracle. Figured out he was being pressured. Able to lock off a couple of kills. Lock it around as well. FURIA find themselves a 2-0. FaZe again on the attack. This time it's going to be the billiard or bar and games area. But so far they haven't really been able to be in true control yet. The rounds they have been scrappy, yes. But it's always been FURIA that still had 2 or 3 members left at the end of that round to make sure they were there to lock it in. Because FaZe kind of struggled. So they need to figure out a way to get these rounds in on the attack. Aim for a 3-3. It's still possible. I mean, it requires you to step up the game a little bit compared to what you've shown so far on Chalet. But they are capable of doing that. They're an experienced lineup.
5 seconds remaining.
So we sort of highlighted statistics on the previous map and how generally it starts to fall. This is one that does play well to attackers, and last game was generally swinging into the same favor of stats, but here it's opening against the curve. Oh, goodbye. That's just one of them moments.
And Cyber taking up a beautiful headshot from STK. He wasn't even putting up a pressure yet. He was just sitting there. Just like Rare is sitting there right now. He's not receiving a bullet, luckily. A beautiful pickup.
Yeah, he's waiting for the chance to go for a bit of a pop and a run out here. They actually stacked themselves close to a couple of different windows, and they've played these little angles before and caused a bit of drama here. The smoke and the movement, the goo mine gets stuck in foot. They're covered. They don't quite have it. There it is. The attempt at the plant stuck around the corner. Are you going to go for the swing, Handy? He's tempted, but he's not actually going to make the motion. They're going to find a plant in the cover above. Fantasy goes down. The run out does get one, can't get two. And Rare's been able to tuck himself into pantry. They're over the side. The smoke comes down. They're looking for the angle above the hatch as well. It's the 2 players with 4. Lost vertical, lost control of the window. The adrenal, no more grenades from the Finker at least, just to deliver and drop. There's a long-range class. There's the man behind the smoke. Handy gets at least 1 out the door, but a sliver of health and a pre-fire stating the knowledge. We know where you are.
And FaZe will lock it off. Find their first round, and we just mentioned it before, there is still plenty of time for them to turn Chalet around. They've only lost 2 rounds so far, and if they manage to bring this to a 3-3 or maybe even a 4-2 for themselves, they're finding themselves in that good spot. Is that Krine's brother out there?
Krine's brother?
Yeah?
With the flexing?
With the flexing?
Maybe. It's like a flex cam. We need that.
The flex cam. Also need the sign cam to come up. But I don't see any signs around now. I saw them earlier today.
Cyber, come on.
Lock off from cameraman now. We are headed back towards the snowmobile and wine cellar area, where of course FaZe have lost out a round before. FURIA hoping that now it has been unlocked again after 2 extra rounds of play since they have won it, can take another victory here. They can put themselves on the 3-1 here. Something might have been learned about it, though. They might have figured out what went wrong last time around so they can change things in the bases.
5 seconds left.
Which allows them to continue on.
Attacker's objective is to locate
Red light
the bomb
came through with a little bit of intel there.
I didn't hear what he said, though. Something with the bandit, but that's about it.
He said they want to... They were hiding the pick.
Oh, they were hiding the pick. All right.
Yes.
So the drones came through, couldn't find it.
They're playing against the Thatcher, obviously. The Thatcher is on the board.
Yes.
Have the chance to roll against it, but they're going to see if they can try and trick at least the first. And when you're looking at what they've got, well, it's only really both of them. They have more than enough to have a bit of a cost here. The Bandit's already up. They're waiting for the approach here. Fantasy, you might try and cause some problems. They're concerned. Droning out all of the mute jammers, stop any drones getting themselves through. There's the first. This grenade is going to go when the mute jammers are off to take care of all of that. But there's an ADS, and there's Fantasy, and there's Fantasy pulling away.
He might have wanted to hide it there, but a double Selma is going to be a bit too much to trick, so Fantasy has to pull off. There's no way for him to try and still go for that trick, so instead goes a bit more aggressive, opens up that window, sees if he can actually find a pick from one of the FaZe players out there on the main breach, but they've already rotated out. They're here near the trench. They want to open up towards the wine cellar wall so they can actually dig in deep and go for that plant. However, the hatch still not under control of the attackers.
And that's it. If they're going to go for this sort of breach and plant, obviously last time we were on this site, cameraman, he tried to dig his way through. Rare suffers some scrapes, and Fantasy suffers even more. Most of a grenade catches him in the face. There's a little pocket left. I think there's a drone at the bottom of the snowmobile stairs that's probably calling out most of his motions. SDK blinded on his approach, and Cyber takes care of Handy. Now SDK, he doesn't want to get isolated here. He's concerned about somebody slipping their way down from the west main stairs. Everything seems to be firing its way through. It's just a bit of a hole. There's a rotation coming from Garage. Oh, he pops out of nowhere. Pre-fires, hoping for a second phase to appear, but instead moves deeper away. He's a problem that needs to be dealt with.
Especially if you want to go for the execute that FaZe is currently eyeing up. They want to plant near the wine cellar area. They need to dig in deep as a result, but if you have someone out there near the actual big garage, as Cyber just comes in, takes down Rare, they can always strike back in the back of you, and that's not something you want. However, you can put up a bit of flank watch now. If you manage to get yet another kill down on the direct side, you could be going for a plant.
Miracle's trying to take a fight on the door. He wanted to offer some support. Souls is keeping that lockdown, saying, we know where you are, so they just pop the fire. Buy themselves 15 seconds and hope they can loop it in. A huge rotation round towards Garage. The kit is currently making its way to a brand new home. And you can see they've got the stack up and support. They're hoping all the attention comes through. There's Cyberzera. There's Cyberzera! Gets the drop through the side, gets his 4K. Is he on for the ace? He's trying to make it in time for the fight. Souls is putting a bit of bait with the knife. Cyber pre-fires, and he's going to keep going and going. He wants the big pop-up, and he gets it!
It is comes through, the right call made. They realize someone was in the big garage. He pushes through, gets 2 kills. The plant can go down behind the bins. And SDK still stuck inside of the big garage. These are the Hatman.
The Hat
Man.
The Hat Folk.
The Hat Folk.
Good hats.
Good
Great
hats. Love to see them.
So we've seen binoculars in the audience. We've got hats.
Yes, we do. What else can we find?
There's someone in a banana costume.
Yeah, but I think...
How?
Oh, there's the banana. I can see. Yeah.
There's
can
the
we get
banana.
the camera on?
Great banana.
Maybe soon. Start being signed as well by other telemembers.
Well, what else are you supposed to do with it?
Of course, get the banana signed. One more bite.
In the last map, it was one of the things I sort of said around the halfway point, closer towards the end, that some of the bigger names that we're used to grabbing a game and zooming with the pressure, Cyber being one of them, weren't quite acting the same sort of pace. Obviously, FaZe still won it out and found that grab and momentum here with the ace, with the kills that he'd already got as a calm and cool nest before then. From that point onwards, we'll see if he has a little bit, I guess, more of that caliber and quality.
2-2 FaZe have managed to bring it back. They stopped the momentum of FURIA, and now they find themselves on equal levels. Back towards the kitchen and dining we go. FaZe going to be able to get a 3rd round in a row here, put themselves in the lead, not just in maps, but also in round score here in Chalet. Cyber holding very long. He knows someone is out there looking for a bit of a spawn peek, but he can't quite find it yet.
Rare takes a little bit of damage. Fantasy's trying to find a fight with Cyber from a very long range.
Oh!
Well, that's Fantasy for you. And that's one of the problems you got to deal with. Sense might be the next. First time we've seen them picked up in this showdown. They're looking for some attention over onto Solarium's side. But it's the slow creep of Bullet. He's potentially gone undetected and wants to keep it that way for now.
Now the thing is, with Sense, I think they are a really good operator, especially if you do manage to open up the wall onto the fireplace side. However, it's now Heartbreach. So that's not going to be working out. So they need to find a different ways to use their gadget, the light screen, to block off lines of sight.
Well, not that way, but at least cameraman can try and take one back. Sends and Bullet on the back line. Suddenly it's a 3 versus 3. Gets dropped from the cover coming through from main. SDK and Bullet now scrape next. Miracle had the lockdown there, keeping each other's backs locked in. There it is. The End of Souls and Bullet with a sliver of health and no diffuser for his trouble is buried inside the site. They have the vertical control. They've rotated up. Players rotated down as well.
It's the ITA-12S. Just a slither of HP that needed to be taken care of. That's, well, as far as the shotgun really reaches. So, it's FURIA that do retake the lead after just shortly have lost it against FaZe. 3-2. Aiming for a 4-2 split.
I mean, that would be fantastic.
That would be fantastic.
Your defense on Chalet, if you're able to push yourself into a 4-2 before heading onto your attack, as I said, it's one of the things that FURIA have been fantastic at throughout this tournament. That puts you in a really good position to push this game onto that third map, onto that third location to butt heads of Kafe, which is intrinsically a very coordinated, a very sometimes claustrophobic and sometimes terrifyingly open map in terms of the takes that you do. A great bite back from FURIA here. They cut the momentum of FaZe off. As you said, can they get their fourth? FaZe still don't think it's worth taking the time out for now. This is still par for their course. And to be fair, they put a great defensive performance on this map, generally throughout this tournament so far, and in general.
Yes. But 50% is the average win rate so far off this map in this tournament. So with that, FURIA managed to lock this up with a 4-2. They're doing better than average, and definitely the attack could be decisive. But FaZe, there's nothing to be lost yet. They can still bring this to a 3-3, and after that, find themselves with what was basically an average split.
Okay, FaZe, what can you do here on your last attack? Well, apparently not a lot. Cyber's removed. Fantasy, 2 for 2 over the past 2 rounds and taking his head off when he's far from the building. That gives them, once again, a huge boon and a bit of intel here for just them to sort of have the confidence. The push and the pressure comes through. Souls is steadily removing it. The Twitch drone active and alive. Probably not for very long. They're popping and peppering every bit of intel and utility. Just slips by the mute jam, and with the hot pings, comes through.
Kill comes in for Astra. Takes the body count back to even. Removing the Melusi off the board. SDK to be able to have any further impact. Fantasy, 4 reinforced walls right behind him. Allows him to be a bit more safe. Rotates back as the E1D pops off. Doesn't want to be the first target of a potential push right through the library. That's going to be some information, some good information on the pantry. They need to deal with Miracle somehow. Now, as he steps out, it seems like he's aware of the fact that there is a drone, and we'll find it as well. Takes it out. Now needs to relocate, though, before they act upon the outdated information.
That's it. They know that that player is a backline, but to be fair, you've always generally expected it's the other loose ones, noticeably Fantasy, around at the top, playing just shy of the fireplace hold spot, hoping it goes out unchecked, tucked behind the bookcase itself. Obviously, he's a big reveal if anyone put pressure onto the double window, but seemingly nobody directly is. Cameraman's making a steady approach, though, across from the bedroom side. He might be the first to find that fight. He's just keeping some of the cool coordination. It's still just down to Fantasy, because if he takes a fight and then goes for a hop out over the balcony, he still might get caught. Waiting patiently and with bated breath. As I said, he is in a place that could get audio called and picked apart. Miracle finds Bullet. They're trying to push themselves, force it to the side. There's the strike. There it is. FURIA, a 4-2 split.
With that, they put themselves on a really good position for the second half. They want to push this towards the map number 3 to decide whoever is going to those semifinals. 4-2. A moment of breath. Wine Cellar and Snowmobile will be coming up next for the side of FaZe now on the defense. As the timer ticks down, we're getting underway. Just to figure out what is going to be next.
All right, at this point, what are we going to start to get here from the side of FaZe? They were not entirely convincing on their defenses. It was when the game started to find a bit of a back and forth, and it might have continued if they hadn't been able to have such a sturdy attack when they were on the other map. But here, well, they've got to try and find a way to step it up, bring a little bit more of that energy, bring a little bit more of what we've seen from them. There it is. FURIA is trying to bring their energy.
Definitely want to. They want to push this towards map number 3. They want to make sure that they can fight for their spot in semis. You said it before, they never really got this far. They want to make sure that finally they push themselves into a situation where they have the opportunity to fight, where they have the opportunity to compete, maybe even for a grand final spot. And I know that is getting ahead of myself here. We're still in quarters. But if they do manage to push this to a map number 3, then it could be possible that they pick it up all together as we head to Kafe for a decider. Now, it is the second half, and Siege is a game off 2 halves, and with that FaZe onto the defense now. They might be outdoing FURIA. We do not know that yet. But as Fancy gets the very first, it's Astro taking off the board. It's a good start for FURIA on their first attacking round. Cyber drops as well right now. Not a single point of damage done yet towards the side of FURIA. As Rare does go down, Cameraman chases for the kill. He's quite low on HP. Souls drops as well. SDK somehow wins out on that gunfight. Only Cameraman and Bullet remain. The 2v4 situation now, FaZe. Can they bring this back? Can they clutch this up in a 2v4? No, it doesn't seem to be the case as Bullet drops. Cameraman goes aggressive, he's chasing with the SMG, but he runs out of ammo as it's being taken out from above. SDK locks him off, and it's FURIA now 5-2 in the lead.
Well, this is sort of what we expected a little bit more from on the first map. We didn't quite have that energy, that warmed up, and on the back of that, FaZe are taking their time out to talk. Try and slow things back down, but you can see the smiles on the sides of FURIA. They want to keep this one going. They're more than happy to see how much further they can push this. Obviously, as we said before, Dostoevsky is going to be our third map if FURIA can keep up this trend. But 5-2. Hey, do you know when we were last here?
When were we last here?
This exact time in the previous map. FaZe were up 5-2 after their first round on the split of the half. So there is pretty good history here for FURIA to be able to lock it down.
All right, FURIA, just 2 more rounds and you find yourselves headed towards map number 3. Pretty good attack coming down just now. You isolated the players of FaZe. There was not really anything they could do against it. They're trying to fight back, they're trying to go aggressive, but instead you fall back as well. At the same time they go for that push, they run out of breath. You take them out as they do. Do not allow them to get back into cover.
Protect your bombs from being defused by them.
And we're headed towards the dining kitchen area. This is where we would have liked to see Sense come into play in combination with a heart breach earlier on.
Attackers have located
Again,
the bomb.
no true heart breach. This time in the hands of FURIA though. Might still be repicked in. Of course, is a mechanic that is currently on the board. And otherwise, we will see some heart breach gadgets instead on maybe the hands of Handy to make sure that there is at least some capability of opening up the wall and create some angles for the long-range attacking guns to be used.
All right, FaZe. What was in the half-time oranges? Where was that conversation and where is it going to take you? One more round and FURIA find themselves guaranteed OT, but it really feels like they're going to take more than just one more round at this current rate. A pretty standard hold and setup here. They've got pretty much everything to break through it. Oh wait, apart from hard destruction. They're going for something a little bit more built around the openings that they have ahead of them. It's a quick bout of explosives here.
They want to just brute force themselves through. There's not even hard breach gadgets that we would have discussed earlier on. Bullet drops back. He knows the pressure is coming up, so decides to fall back behind the stairs, going down towards the snowmobile area so he can still strike back. Nobody would do that, though, as soon as the hard breach decides to go off, but since there is none, not quite sure how this is going to be working out. Looks like FURIA just want to go for a bit of aggression, just want to lead in with these entries and then do not stop until they're back on the site. Make the defenders go for a bit of a retake strategy here.
Drop the diffuser.
FURIA very quick to find their way in towards the top floor, but this is where things might get a little bit tricky because the Kafe is going to try and brute force their way through. We've already seen FaZe have a pretty quick reaction. They handed over Library. They weren't going to play the game that FURIA wanted to play. But still, Cameraman, how long is he going to try and stick this out? Has the shield for support. Obviously, it's smoke. Fantasy goes maybe for the swing round. There's the pop on anything that might stop this. The drop onto the shield. There it is. The grenade. Oh. Perfectly played. The C4 a little bit too late, but they'd already got the drop onto the player. Fantasy's just going to move along, and all that ground is taken away. But Astro He wanted to have one more taste before he slips back. There goes Miracle as well onto the swing of the stairs. Picked back up. But are they going to escape? Ooh, just sings to the top of the stairs with a sliver of health.
They know though, someone is coming down from below them, someone is chasing them, and his handy has gone down. He's looking towards blue, hoping to find Bullet, of course, who did go for that chase before. Seems like he's going on the flank again. This might be to his detriment as he does get picked up, potentially, by the flank watch. Drone's out there. Bullet just holding as well. Knows someone could be coming down these blue stairs. Will they though? Is a big question. Handy deciding to give up on actually watching that flank, putting up some pressure, opening up these hatches, seeing if he can find alternate angles.
I was going to say, it sounded like he popped the camera just at the very end there, so I think they were waiting for it to potentially become active and hope that he slipped through thinking nobody was there. FURIA, 30 seconds. They've still got to try and pace and focus towards the site, seeing if they can force some of the players out of position around the door itself, keep moving. You know, they've got C4s and they used one almost perfectly just before. A little bit more health, a little bit more for Miracle, just to try and work it on the final 20 seconds. STK takes the drop, takes the rotation. Miracle, slow creep down the stairs. There's a break, there's Cyber. Able to find the mark. There's just 2 players left. There's no kit, there's one, there's only Handy. He is in between every single which way FaZe. 3 rounds.
3 rounds, and I'm kind of worried though, worrying. Where was the heart breach? There was not even a single attempt at bringing it. You could have brought heart breach gadgets. You could have brought a heart breach operator. I mean, you knew what site you were going to. Yet again, FURIA didn't want to play it. And if they do continue going down that road, we might see FaZe go for a bit of a comeback. And of course you can brute force. Of course you can try and push through like they wanted to do. But if you limit yourselves to just a couple of doorways, then it is going to be easier for these defenders to shut you down as well. You need to open up these multiple different angles. And if you look at them right now, no sign of a heart breach yet either. I mean, Handy is going down onto the buck. Again, could bring heart breach gadgets, but you kind of want more than that. You kind of want the Hibana that indeed comes down from Rare right now. Opens up opportunities. That's what you're looking for. If you don't take the heart breach, there's nothing you can open up that is currently closed. So you need to give yourself the opportunity to do so if you think it's necessary. And just bringing out the Hibana, that might be a big change that was necessary.
Also, with the IQ, in terms of driving against some of the intel, there's always the concern, there's always the tuck-in. Chalet is such a big intel-driven game at points, just being able to hide away so much utility in and amongst the beams across the top or the tucked-in plant pots on the bottom. It's a consistent problem, and she can make that problem much quicker. FURIA, talking of quick, they're not going just as they were before. They're trying to find out Astro. He's suddenly finding himself between a couple of different drones. How long he decides to stick around on this territory and how many he decides to take out on the way, it's probably sooner rather than later as STK. He's looking to creep his way up here. The grenade comes as the cook. Fantasy hits the window. Astro's found his way towards Split and slipped past the big double door.
Issue now is that they've given away the complete north side of that building, both top floor and bottom floor. So with that, they can start pushing towards the site. They can start pushing towards the library from inside the building rather than outside on the balcony. And that might be a bit more difficult to deal with as a defender right here because they have that horizontal width that they can use. They can bring in multiple grenades. They can bring in these different kinds of angles, and you are kind of limited to whatever you can use.
FURIA knocking their heads against this FaZe hold for now. They haven't quite been able to find those wide picks that they did before, whether that was the topic of FaZe's team talk of we just need to try and pull this one a little bit more back to our chests and then lean back into them when they don't quite expect the rest. It's starting to structure something more of a late gunfight rather than early doors being slammed in their face. Hey, STK, they say, with a few bullets fired from the bullet hole and the punch just on the bottom. They're not quite confident enough to go for the swing, but Miracle takes cameraman on the top of blue stairs. Bullet might need to take this drop sooner rather than later. He's hoping to get one loose catch, and there he does. Rare goes off. He's able to find Cyber with the cover of SDK. Handy has to swing round on the far side, finds Cyber, but Astro gets the drop onto Miracle at the same time. One player outside the double window. Handy still trying to get control of the top floor. But it really got pulled away from FURIA there.
Ooh, Astro just got caught off there, but he air air jab, locked off, ran right through 2, wanted to retake that top floor, but unfortunately unable to make it stick. The air jabs doing their jobs, bringing it back to a 2v2. Nitro still in hand for Bullet, waiting for that. Pre-place, they have a camera, they have information. Of course, Fantasy is still on the board as well. Could be using that electronic scanner to actually find out. As there is tons of utility, and the diffuser has been down.
Yeah, the diffuser was down in the engagement on the top floor. They chased the player instead. They've got it back now, but 15 seconds. One of them's going to have to try and head down. And it's not the man holding the kit. Handy gets locked on the door. FaZe. They bring it back within 1 round's touching distance.
FaZe able to grow into this defense is exactly what they need and need to show if they want to be going for a second major win. You need to be able to win on most maps. You need to be able to show the fortitude. And if you've been down like that, 4-2, 5-2, you need to be able to bring it back. It's FURIA, all right. I think, what's being shouted? It's FURIA.
There was a bit of back and forth.
There's a bit of back and forth between two fans. Now, as we head towards the basement, it is going to be FaZe needing to extend themselves. Now, are they going to do that with a roam towards the top floor, or are they going to be, you know, getting themselves nicely spread around onto that basement, make sure they do take trench into their own hands, because there is going to be the Ossa, at least it seems like, in the hands of Rare. An operator, of course, with talent shields, which are perfect to go for a plant which might be contested from a certain angle. Think of the connector, for example. Put the talent shield down, you can plant right behind it. Only a C4 and impact will really be doing damage to you.
Attackers are moving out to locate
FaZe, 1 round separating them from catching up. FURIA still 1 round of being able to try and close this one out. They still obviously have time for their conversation, but they trust that this, the tertiary site, is the one that they might be able to lock down. Cellar was the start and it was theirs. It might be potentially closer to the end as well. Fantasy, a name that you still want to see always more of because we know what he's capable of. And, well, Cyber is that other response, and he's getting this one early. Oh. There it is, Miracle. And there it is, Cameraman! And this is the game that these two teams play, a thread of players littered around the site and more than ready to pull at each other.
But that's how you need to play. You need to have someone ready to go for a refrag at every given time. May it be Cyber going for a jump out, getting caught by Miracle, of course, who was, you know, aware of what was happening, took that space, and Cameraman then going aggressive again. That's kind of what you need. You need that back and forth. You need to play on contact together because otherwise you're just going to be losing members without any impact whatsoever.
When you lose an Ossa, usually it heralds plan A has gone wrong. SDK is able to at least start to make things go a little bit right. They went for the drop onto the hatch itself to take them by surprise, but SDK was more than ready and willing, and now suddenly it's a 3 versus 3, and there wasn't anybody close enough. Whether they knew he'd been able to crouch his way into that position or not, it doesn't change the fact that now they're trying to get the breach onto the building. The site itself there on Snowmobile stairs. Bullet is trying to find an angle, but it seems like he's being revealed on a drone the whole time. They might get the catch on the second, but somebody's behind him, going for the catch themselves. Bullet had an awareness. He tucks himself back round. A minute 10. He cannot be caught. It's Souls that swings round to offer that support. A long-range fight. Puts bullets either side. Fantasy, who can he find? There's one onto the blue. He tucks himself towards the side. Cannot connect. Handy gets one. Handy gets two. And now FURIA with a little bit of a pistol and a little bit of health takes a second to breathe. Cameraman, no more canisters. He's got to time this play against the plant. Is Handy going to stick it? He feels confident enough. The other player's far enough away. Now he's going for the fight. Oh, he gets it, Handy!
They were so low on HP. A single pellet from the shotgun would have ended the job right there. But finds a slither of that smoke. A drone potentially giving away the information. He is coming through Snowmobile. You need to be ready. And its FaZe was literally a bullet away from bringing it back to 5-5. It's FURIA that find themselves onto map point now. 1 round away from pushing us to map number 3. As the wine cellar hat fallen. Go back towards that middle floor. Again, no hard breach on the side of FURIA yet. That could, of course, still change. And I think it should change as well. Because otherwise they're going to struggle. there it is. The Hibana making its way in.
There it is. The swap out. They're bringing the hard destruction this time around. They want to see if they can be a little bit more direct towards the site itself. Obviously, it was a hell of a clutch. Finding the 3K, the plant against the tide of players. They'd lost and suffered quite a lot elsewhere. They'd lost the Ossa, and as I said, that's usually plan A off the board. If you lose an Ossa or a Monty or somebody that's the drive on a push, then things might have to take a bit of a wicked turn elsewhere. Here, though, nothing like that. Something a little bit more traditional, as he said, with the hard breach alongside the slightly rarer scene Ash might be a step in. A couple of frost mats could be a catch, but to be fair, Furia's drone game has been pretty thorough.
Yeah, for sure. They haven't been really making any of these missteps here, and you kind of can see that from that very last round. Yes, the jump out was not caught, but they did manage to instantly reply to it. But after that, they did have the numbers on the FaZe players. They knew exactly where they were going to be coming from. Just lost some of those gunfights, unfortunately. But the last one, for example, the smoke, the 1v1, they knew exactly where smoke was going to be coming from. So they know generally where these FaZe members are located. Their drone game is on point. They have quite a good economy, as I say that. 7 drones still left in pocket, 2 minutes to go. Make that 6.
Well, there's a couple of bodies stacked up on a window, and there's not really anything, I believe, to support the catch on utility that can come through. It didn't look like there were any discs locked in. You hope and maybe expect at least one would get loosed, but there it is. The flash will start to come towards it. The wall will get popped over the top. Here comes a grenade. Here comes a second grenade. Still no catch as Astro pulls himself slightly further away. There's a frost mat. Well, maybe we cursed it, maybe we didn't. There it is, bullet and cameraman. Get a couple more on the far end. Rare suddenly has the startling realization that there's a player in that position. Miracle, he's coming here to offer some support, but the grenades already rolled, used and lost. It just would have taken one to get it.
Would have taken one, instead they don't. 2v5, a minute 10 on the clock here. C4 gets used, it's not going to be able to find anything. Rare's downstairs, looking to take Fireplace. Miracle rotating around as well, hoping to maybe go for a bit of a push through the library side, at least put up some pressure there. As he falls back all the way down towards the bottom floor. Excaras go off, they open up the wall. In the meantime, going down West Main as well, hopefully pushing in together at some point. They need to support each other here, 50 seconds on that clock. Miracle will be entering in from the games, waiting. At least Rare is waiting for him to be in position so they can start striking together.
40 seconds. 5 FaZe players to get through, and once again, most of the aggression happened a little bit further away from the site than they probably would have liked. Sure, the Hibana was able to do a little bit of destruction up on the top floor. But at this point now, with everybody else dropped, including now Miracle, Rare gets one on the way out. 4 more players, the full reveal of where they are. FaZe bring back one more, and we'll go to OT.
Round 12 for the side. A tactical timeout will be called by FURIA. 45 seconds for them to discuss what they can do to make sure that map 3 is going to happen. It's the last tactical timeout we have for this map here. FaZe already used theirs way earlier on. And FURIA, they know, they are finding themselves on map point. Just a single round more and they will be headed towards Kafe, will be headed towards the cider map. And FaZe, they also know if we bring this to OT, we could lock this off in only 2. Allow ourselves that bit of extra rest before our semi-finals tomorrow. And as the timer hits 10, the coach and the ability to speak is starting to run low.
You're just doing like a play-by-play on.
I'm doing that, but
on a timeout.
He's not really been talking much. Just starts now. The last 5 seconds, some last motivational speech towards FURIA. This is when you lock it off, guys. This is when you push us to map 3. And after that, it is all a best of 1 again.
FaZe. They've been able to fight this back on a bit more of a back and forth second half. A single round separates either of these teams from finding themselves in another mental reset position where we have an OT. And that's up to you at this moment in time, FURIA, to be honest. Some of these are looking really sharp, some of these moments. Great attacks, more put together, but Unfortunately, you're up against FaZe, a team of many, many answers.
And a team of many great gunners as well. The Frostmats, they managed to catch off one of the players of FURIA the last time around. They put down 2 into the big window just to make sure that if Games is going to be approached quickly, it will be shut down in just a matter of seconds. And it is not completely off the board here. The line comes through. The Finca is always there, of course, with the LMG. But FURIA, you know, they might be thinking, what if we put a bit more pace into it?
Pressure over the top. I compliment FURIA's drone game, and then things started to slip through their pockets a little bit. Maybe that was the timeout to just sort of say, look, heads on, we know that we can take this, and we know that we can take the players. Fantasy. Putting a bit of quick pressure here. There goes the skeleton key into Frostmat's cameraman as the cover, but he gets the player down. Suddenly he's in the site, just slips away from the fight background. Rez trying to offer some support from the fireplace door, but Fantasy is now the back line of sight, gets it. And he's looking for one more. They're moving over to the hatch on the second story. Rez going to drone ahead as more control comes from Handy and the heal comes through from SDK. Bullet massively injured as well against it. FaZe taken by a little bit of a blind side here. Astro. A slow creep underneath Snowmo. He's going to see if he can try and pull one apart, and he needs to do it sooner rather than later as Bullet gets down through the softs from the man inside the site. Wondering if somebody's on the door.
Drone gets taken out. Souls goes for the revive. That might be quite dangerous. Here it is 2. Stuck in a single corner now. Rare is coming around on the rappel. He's elevated here as the shoulder gets shown for the second time around. He gives his position his way. As Souls takes a little bit of damage here. And E1D pops in. It's Astro that will get 1 kill. Brings it back to a 3-on-3. But look at the HP on the FaZe side. Almost all of them are about 1 shot as SDK misses the opportunity to find the kill. The plank goes down. 45 seconds soon on the board.
They move the plant off. They're not quite happy with where it is, and Bullet proves why. Gets Rare. Handy can't quite get it. There's the spray from the verticality. There's the space! Take it back from the jaws of defeat and throw us into OT.
This side had fallen about a minute or 2 earlier. Completely cleared out by Fantasy. They could have gone for a plant if they had a little bit more control for that top floor. But now 6-6, 3 more rounds. Who is going to be reaching 8 first? Is it going to be FURIA? Or will it be FaZe? What we do know, though, is that FaZe is on the defense now. They are favored. So far, 8 rounds won on the defense compared to the 4 on the attack. Is this going to be the difference maker? Is FaZe, with this overtime starting side, going to be finding themselves in that position to end this with a 2-0? This is a Brazilian showdown for a semi-final spot. For another Brazilian showdown.
For another Brazilian showdown.
Yes. The road stops, though.
The road to the finals for Brazil is paved by Brazil.
It is. At least one Brazilian team will make it to the finals. What is new? Of course, incredible siege region. With 2 incredible teams playing right here, right now.
So, FaZe continue on their defense here. 2 most recent rounds are the ones that they're able to do it. And as I said before, that one was purely from the jaws of defeat. FURIA took not a risk, but the throwdown and some free territory, which is, again, a game that I think they've played more confidently on other days than they have today. But you probably can't get away with some of the plays that FaZe know and read like a book. SDK on the finger roll, just popping open some long-range windows, trying to find loose FaZe players on Kitchen, the site that has gone away from them twice.
Fantasy pushing himself in and top of the library is taking out some of those utility pieces, but more importantly, gaining a lot of control. He wants to be pushing in towards the office area soon. He's just quickly getting out the scanner to see if there's any cameras, any black ice out there that will be giving away their positions. Doesn't seem to be the case, even though Souls is playing on that Valkyrie currently. It is the complete south side of the building that has been forfeited towards the side of FURIA. So FaZe, are you happy with this? Is this going to be how you want to lock off this next round? Or will you be finding yourself in an opportunity to fight back against lots of grounds that have been lost to FURIA so far?
Well, Astro's under a bit of pressure here from the balcony and from the window and almost from the door. He somehow survives, slips his way through. They're hot on the heels. Do they know purely where everybody is? Cameraman, he's dancing a bit of a dangerous dance. He's able to slip away too because nobody's currently covering that window. That's the most important part here. 2 players free to get out of there with the rest of the pressure that came through because FURIA didn't quite have that position for FaZe to have to fight their way back through. Now the rotate comes across it. All of that utility still in place on the stairs.
Now there's going to be a fight on the blue stairs here. Miracle has 2 FaZe members pushing up very soon. There's going to be the impact coming in first. It is too many. He shoots in the middle. He's not quite able to get them. The flashbang gets tossed in. He will be healed up and somehow escapes with his life.
But Fantasy takes one of his own. Souls and the pressure onto site. They're screaming their way down the stairs. There it is. Trophy, and he's starting to create a collection of his own. Pushes and pushes. Frere! There's one against the board. Astro takes it through the soft, but he is now all that's left, and there's not a rotate. And there is a drone revealing the play, and the player a post plant. Astro with barely any health. They have a full-on awareness of where he is, and they have a player watching his escape either side. Even if he wins this one, there's a lot more to have to go through. He sure does. But 30 seconds. And a hot hop and a drop down from the second story balk is never easy to put together. One on the left, they've retaken the verticality right behind him as well. So one of them's going to push for the fight, but he doesn't need to be there. FURIA 7-6.
Again, find themselves on map point. And FaZe have been able to fight this back before. Can they do it again? Now on the attack, however, slightly unfavored. The claps are starting to come out.
So remember the beginning of the series, you were like,
there's only one FURIA
there's one FURIA person here.
There is.
They have steadily started to convert more people around them. It's like there's a FURIA section now.
There's a section now.
There's a section
for FURIA.
Yeah.
Starting to climb.
As there should be.
They deserve it. A lot of, you know, you said it before, it's like that talent that always get there, always get to the majors, but never really managed to push on further. Now they've made it out of groups, and the semi-final will be their next step, their next goal to be reached. They think they have what it takes to be a major champion, and if you see them play, they definitely do. They just need to put it all together.
Okay, FURIA have taken us to billiards. That's the site that they want to bring, and statistically a little bit puzzling for how their first half went. Our kitchen wasn't 100% win rate for them on their defense. They had this once and lost it once, and they only really bought it as their very last swing and then one cut in the middle. So for my money, statistically it's a little bit more of a risk, but maybe they're trying to play against that. They've obviously got themselves once again up against the lion, the catch, and the sort of catch-all that it's been in their opening half.
A lot of members of FURIA are currently around in trophy, 2 of them. Others are off site as well. No one directly stopping anybody from jumping in, but Miracle, of course, in the pantry side of things. SDK ready to go for a jump out here. He's watching the camera. There comes the impact. He runs for it. He's on his way to Claymore. We'll finish him off. FaZe with the entry kill.
It's the evolution. You do the run out on the door. There's a Claymore. So people started to do it from the wall. There's a Claymore. Ever since you're allowed 2 in your pocket. Cameraman gets in and obviously gets that first one against SDK. A good lead in. He's found himself pretty frequently in and amongst that entry statistic, and Cyber, well, he's another name there. The battle between him and Fantasy took over the core in the middle of a fair few of these rounds. He's waiting for another swing round. The pressure is coming onto Piano. He's got to try and find a route out, and he's trying to find it himself. There it is. Another grenade bounces. He's going to push further and further into it, and they pull further and further away. The E1D and the up and down in the prep with the pistol. Pops one bullet, but then pulls himself instantly away as Cameraman is trying a heavy hit with a DMR. Takes the head
shot
off of Handy. More than ready for that swing round. Cyber droning himself in. Rare gets Cameraman. Gets a bit of a stop on this momentum. They are just trying to find Fantasy from every which way, but he's more than happy to bite back.
Fantasy digs himself in deep in the library, right behind these display cabinets. It's hard to see through as an attacker if you're about to be pushing in. Rear now comes in as a bit of support as well. They do not want to give up this top floor control, even though they are a man down currently upon FaZe. They want to fight back to them. They want to make sure the body balance gets back in favor of themselves, but Fantasy loses his life. It's a 2-on-4 situation now. Rare looking to retake the area that was just lost. He goes aggressive, finds the first. Knows there's one onto the balcony, but Bullet comes in and shuts him down. It's only Miracle now. It's only no Miracle now. FaZe bring it to round 15. And now it is match and series points for FaZe, whilst it's map points for FURIA.
In the words of Tim, we're going all the way, Des.
I'm not Des, though.
Oh. He's somewhere saying it.
He's somewhere, probably.
FaZe. One round now separates them from being able to move forward, remove everything else, and that's the weight, that's the pressure ahead of them. Kitchen, to be fair, was their most successful defensive site, and that was the first time they actually lost it on the most recent attempt. Will they double down? Will they try it again? Or will they head off elsewhere? Becomes that sort of risk in the gamble.
8 defensive rounds against the 6 attacking rounds we have seen so far.
Bedroom.
FaZe is slightly favored in this round. Based. Oh. Very nice. Great turn up. Back to the game. Round 15. If FaZe win this one, and they are slightly favored, it is very slight. Then they will be pushing on towards the semifinals. If FURIA manage to get this round, round 15, will push over towards the map number 3. So, with that said, FURIA on the attack once more. They brought Heartbreach this time. Something they did not always like to do, so that is going to be a big step up. Their Heartbreach rounds were more generally successful compared to the non-Heartbreach rounds.
Fantasy almost found the first fight pretty instantly here. Bullets stacked up, waiting, but we're back to this, the droning game of FURIA that I've already said so much about. They're trying to get that steady. And with the far side of Handy, just opening up the door, making a bit of presence known, and then open up the double window over the balk as well. They're isolating the single player. Bullet swings around though and finds the head of Fantasy, puts us one step closer to FaZe being one step closer to a grand final. SDK gets caught out by Cyber's error on the rotate, drops his grenade. Nobody else around to catch it as he tried for a sneaky push. FaZe, they have a 2-body advantage and they are not going to throw it away. Pull a lot of them back over to the site. Cyber is loose, but to be fair, in a 1 versus 1, usually you'd favor him anyway.
Taking SDK out saves Bullet's life. That grenade was headed towards his direction if it was just a second slower there. So, FURIA in that 3v5, there's a lot of work to do. There's still that Roma you need to take care of. The rest is all anchored back onto the sides. What do you have available to you? What do you have left in the tank to bring this back, to bring this to a map number 3? Cyber slowly starting to creep up. He wants to go for the flank when it is still hot. He could be moving up these back stairs, could be finding FURIA as they would like to go for a breach.
Well, there it is. The attempt on the plant inside. At this point, you're thinking, FaZe, where are you? FaZe, where are you? There it is. Round on the back, gets the drop, but suddenly it's a technical 2 versus 3. FURIA took a gamble and snuck the kid in, and now they've just got to try and hold on with everything they have, and Miracle is one of the things that they have. Puts us into a technical 2 versus 2. The reveal on the drone. The player tucked round on the fight. Miracle with a quad kill. Can he get the ace? One more body, FaZe, and it is! Who else but Miracle to take us one step closer? Map 3 will be on the cards. A hard-fought victory. And our fight in our race, it's still on.
From a 3v5 on the backbone, Miracle comes in, gets an ace, keeps FURIA alive, keeps them fighting. As the map 3 is now on the board and will head there very soon. And oh man, what a quarterfinal this is shaping up to be.
Well, I'm sure there's a lot for our team down there to discuss. So, Milos, Hawk down there. Take it away.
It is done. We're tied up, and we're going to map number 3. Blue Cap, you can take a moment to breathe here and get yourself some coffee maybe to survive through the night. We've been here all day. Let's see how it's all going to go. Welcome back to the analyst desk as we set you up after map number 2. Going max OT 8-7 on Chalet. And FaZe bottled it in the last round. FURIA outplaying them and tying things up 1-1. Pengu, your thoughts?
I mean, we were watching that final round thinking, FaZe got it.
Yep.
It done like that, 5v3, no issues right there. But then FURIA, they awaken that last moment. They get down the diffuser. They play a beautiful post plant and somehow just steal the round. But also, Miracle ends it with an ace.
Yeah. And there was 2 aces.
There were 2 aces.
Two aces as well. It really was one of them. You know, you can look back on one of their maps and you think that's a classic LATAM map where 1 minute it looks like FURIA are going to dominate the map, FaZe do the comeback, then they lose it in overtime, there's 2 aces, it's all gone a bit mental. And it was a actually very enjoyable match to Siege to watch.
There was. The weird thing is that for both teams in the beginning, it was a very defender-sided Chalet. Both got like a 4-4-2 side, but then in OT, it was all attacking victories essentially, so it really flipped on its side.
I want to talk to you about the operator bans because we were talking about this in the background that actually this is uncommon. So we had FaZe banning out Sledge and Azami. On the other side, FURIA, it's the Ying and the Aruni. Now, Ying ban, not out of the ordinary, but Sledge, Azami, and Aruni. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, we loved the Sledge ban.
Yes.
Both me and you loved the Sledge ban, and it was to do with grenade economy on Chalet, right? Is that you take out the Sledge, you don't just take out the nade. What you do is you force the attackers into a choice. Do we bring verticality, or do we bring the grenades on another operator, a Nook, for example? If you bring the verticality, how do you do that? How do you achieve that? Do you have a Sophia? Do you have, breaching charges with an ace? And, it can affect all sorts. It affects your whole composition. Obviously, you can bring your book, but then you lose your nade. So I really liked that operator ban.
Agreed. And the same thing with like Asami and Aruni, it's like, it's deny, right? Grenades, gotta focus the keeper barriers, of course, you gotta flash between Aruni gates. So it makes taking library so much easier because you don't have to deal with as many issues and whatnot.
Yeah.
So it really favors the attackers, despite this matchup being a defender side actually.
So between the Azami and the Aruni, it's kind of also the ban, a response to the Sledge ban to kind of equalize the playing field and not make it, hey, Wamai and Jaeger are just going to, absolutely demolish nades.
You take some of the ban away, you take some of the explosives that you actually have to use, things like nades on, you take that away. Yeah. And, obviously that's helpful when you're on the attack. And then obviously FURIA as well, they banged away the Ying. Which we saw how good FaZe were at using that particular operator on Skyscraper. Get it away, get it gone from FaZe. There's no need to ban Thatcher away from FaZe because not that they're not going to play it, of course they're going to play it, but it has far less impact on Chalet.
All right, so those were operator bans, of course. Ones that are different, fit very well with Chalet, and that's what we wanted to see. But it got super close. I want to talk about that before we move on to map number 3 is how did it get this close? Because by all intents and purposes, I mean, you said it before we came in, 7-5 victory for FaZe Clan. Didn't come out this way, but it got pretty close too, which is, again, what was predicted.
I mean, it did. It comes down to that FaZe really struggled on their attacking side to open up the rounds. And then I feel like FaZe, about round 3, they would change their pace, right? They started really fast, really aggressive. It wasn't working. Then they started playing very slow. Let FURIA come to you, get some opening kills. They start winning rounds. And I will say the reason why this went to OT was because FaZe played good Siege. But it only got that close because FURIA was just stomping the first 6 rounds essentially. So FURIA on Chalet, as we expected, it's their map.
And I want to pull up the match summary for just a moment here to maybe put in some more context on the players and maybe help out with your points. Jack, please.
Well, 2 players got aces, 2 players at the top of the leaderboard. It's simple as that. In FURIA, it was a much better game from them, a much more team-rounded, well-rounded performance. Fancy actually had a very good game. And STK is a player that has had a pretty rough group stage. He'd had a pretty rough, stage in terms of Copa Elite BR6 generally as well. Maybe not hit the heights that people expected him to hit. There was a lot of hype around him when he came on this roster. He's actually having a very consistent playoff so far as well.
Yeah, and then you got FaZe, you got Cyber doing Cyber things, like
Cyber doing Cyber things
of what he did in the group stage, etc., and of course in LATAM itself, where he just kind of finds himself at the top of the kill board pretty much almost every single round. It happens.
There you go. That's our top performance on here. Fantasy keeping up with the entry, 4-2 in total, helping out, getting that, I guess, entry. Again, you know,
Yeah.
getting that opener, it opens up the entire round. We know when you get entry kills, most of the time, what is it, 60-70% of the time, you'll be taking that entire round. So that's something to kind of weigh on your mind. Moving on, though, from Chalet, I want to talk about Kafe Dostoyevsky, our third map in the series that maybe people were not expecting for us to go to. That'll extend our night a bit more. But you know what? Ending the night with a bit of good siege and good friends all around, that's exactly what we look for. So, Kafe, what do you expect to see, Pongo?
I feel like Kafe is a beautiful story in this best of 3 because it's the perfect middle ground between Skyscraper and Chalet, where you got problem solving and execution, but also gunplay is a massive factor. Opening kills, getting man advantage, etc. You can jump out windows or stay inside the building. It comes down to how you want to approach it individually between these two teams.
It's not as expressive as Chalet. You've got a lot less freedom, particularly when you're attacking it. You know, you've still got to get through your set objectives. But the one thing that I do like about Kafe is there's multiple ways of attacking it for every single bomb site. It makes it a lot more fun. There's also multiple ways of defending it for every single bomb site. What I want to see from these two teams is just pure aggression. I want to see that decider map where it's just so aggressive. You want to, you know, get out of the windows. I want to see, if you're talking cocktail, the top red hold, the real shop hold with the Azami, the castle, the Rooney, the Jaeger, the Wamai. Make it really oppressive and make it complete like gunslinging.
I want to see what essentially W7M did in their opening round against Elevate, where you just rush with Amaru, Ying, Gridlock the first round, set the tone, the pace, and surprise your opponent.
FaZe are starting off on the attacking side for this, and it'll be important in the game itself, but it'll be also important in terms of operator bans, who gets to start first to go through them. We saw how Chalet, you talk, both of you, about verticality and how that impacts Chalet. It's probably even more, at least equal, in Kafe Dostoyevsky. No matter if you're attacking up or attacking down, vertical play cannot be ignored.
That's true. I mean, speaking of operator bans, just like off the bat, I feel like we should expect the Ying ban from FURIA because that can be a huge tool on Kafe. I kind of want to say, FaZe, ban the finger. Is that something that you'd consider in this position, Jack?
Yeah, potentially. I don't know. It's kind of hard.
It is hard.
You would leave up so many other good operators. That's the problem with banning a Ying and a Finker, right? Is you leave up so many other good operators. I actually just had a quick look, Milosh. Quick, very history of these two teams on this map. FaZe have played it once. They played it up against NIP, and they were lethal on the attack. They won 7-3, and they won all 4 of their attacks that they had.
When was that?
This was Copa Elite 6, Stage 2.
So just now,
recently,
a couple weeks.
That's the only time they've played it this kind of year since the start of Stage 1. Them starting on the attack, they're going to feel very comfortable.
Yeah, and always is that question of how does Brazil versus Brazil translate playing in the region versus how it is here. Yes, Jack?
Then just very quickly on the bans,
Go ahead.
is I had a quick look at FURIA. I pulled up the bans very quickly.
You're so fast.
They perma-ban Nomad on this map.
Ooh. Okay, that makes sense. And why? Why does it make sense to ban Nomad? Let's go back to basics.
I was going to say, you can limit mobility and also enable yourself to play more aggressive, which FURIA, they love. So
there you go. All fits well. You got Claymores also on top of that. The double Claymore buff for everybody that's getting, as controversial as that can be. But you know what? It's there. Taking out Nomad, taking out that. But what about other operators for the defense? We saw the Aruni being taken out, the Azami as well. We know how powerful both of those operators can be on Kafe Dostoyevsky and how they fit with, I guess, being utility soak, like you explained. Did you see that here?
The basic option here is going to be Mirror Valkyrie, because information and the mirror windows are so hard to deal with on attack. However, Latsum can play with both of those operators open, so it could go in a completely different scenario, but I don't think it will.
And the attack bans dictate the defense bans, right? If you go in something like Ying, Nomad, Finker, right? 2 or 3 of those, that means Thatcher, all the breaches are going to be available. Which, especially from Mirror's point of view, it's kind of almost pointless playing a Mirror when there's a Thatcher and a Habana available. So, you feel like the Mirror's probably open. Valkyrie, one of them.
Sledge ban again. We've seen so much.
Do you know what? Teams sometimes do it on Clubhouse when they want to play the castle and they want to play really aggro. So it's not uncommon on this particular map, but I don't think we'll see it again.
All right. Who do you think will take it then and move on to the semi?
Oh, no.
Yeah, I know. I'm putting you on the spot.
Are we going to do this?
This one is hard. I'm kind of torn because...
Is your name Natalia Imbruglia? Are you old enough to understand
that? I don't think he knows that reference. He has no idea about that reference.
But you understood it.
Well, I'm in a singing mood, Milos. Do you want me to sing it to him?
If it wasn't for copyright, I'll see you in the green room for that when we're done. But how do you see it going?
I'm torn down the middle. I'm a FaZe fanboy, so I'm going to say FaZe up.
FaZe up.
But it's not going to be easy.
FaZe up. All right, there you go. Jackers?
I can't, yeah.
It's just that.
I think FaZe as well. I think FaZe just generally are the more well-rounded team.
All right, well, let's see how it goes. FURIA were able to come back and turn it into a map 3.
I got it.
What is that?
What?
That is, that's a mutated
Okay.
app.
Do it
It's
again.
just
Do it
this.
again.
Thumbs out, this up, this down.
Show it
got
to them.
There you
Got it.
go.
There you go. Face up.
See, we spent so much time with Geo way back in the day at Invitational 2018 that he taught us phase up because it's literally the only thing he did for 2 weeks straight. So there you go. All you need to know. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your input. Maybe FaZe can make it as you're predicting, or FURIA can strike. It'll be the deepest they've gone through in the tournament, so it's already great to make it into the playoffs, but can they go deeper? Let's toss to a quick break. When we come back, we'll be back for FaZe versus FURIA. Don't go anywhere. See you in a moment.
welcome back to wherever that camera is. We find ourselves here. Woo! One more map. One more map of today's play day. Whoever takes it, they're the ones that make their way through to the All LATAM semi-final.
For sure, it's going to be a very tight matchup here on Kafe Dostoyevsky. So, without further ado, shall we just get right into it?
Let's just get right
Let's get right into that
Let's
game.
just throw ourselves right into it. There's the base.
Just let it play out. There's no way we can get over this. Now, our observers for this long game will be the Italian stallion Red Like and the Croatian sensation Medics.
Gotta give them
some credit.
Not easy.
Not easy, no. We just saw him walk by. He actually...
Not the other observer, Mandy, as well.
No.
Did a game.
Did a
she's
game,
Liquipedia credited.
Better be. Otherwise, we have just tossed it out there into the wild for the Liquipedia editors to make sure that will happen. Here comes the first ban. Takes a bit longer. And the wave goes back as well.
It's been a long day in a warm.
You know what? We'll just let you guys talk through the bands like this.
I mean, it's the energy of the bands. Well, we get this little period of time. There's a bit of a slow here. Twitch, quick removal. Fair enough. It's gone back.
And it's the sledge to be removed next. And again, we have a couple of seconds to talk about it.
I don't know why it entertains me so much, but it really does.
Oh! That's the mirror to be removed. We have one more tonight. We better make it a great one. Come on, one more tonight. Hey! It's the Valkyrie.
Thank you, everybody. You brightened.
Thank you for your
day.
help. We really appreciate it.
Okay. One more map. FURIA starting on their defense. And they're going to see if they can try and put some of that difference together, because to be fair, the other times they've started on the defense has been a little bit hit and miss. Obviously, the first map, it fell away from them. The second, it was theirs. It could have been a 5-1, but a cyber ace was the difference maker.
Attackers need to locate and defuse bomb.
Now we get going. It is mining and dining first. It's not often a sight we see to come out right from the get-go. Might have to do slightly with the bans. The mirror to be gone. And we were talking about it before. Nicholas was talking about it as well. He's like, you don't really want to go towards the basement with these kind of bans. You kind of want to stay on the first and top floor as a result. That's exactly what FURIA want to do for now to start off their defense. Now, they have just won an incredible second map. An incredible comeback as well with an ace to lock it all off. How will they start off their first offensive round? We have traps here from Capcan. We have the keeper barriers that can be used to create a maze out of every single room. With the pulse to send these nitro cells up to accurate positions. And of course, Miracle on that smoke to lock out any potential early plants. Now, keeper barriers will be set up from above as E1D goes off. Fantasy stands still right underneath the hatch, hoping to catch a sledge or buck to open it up with that nitro cell.
FaZe, can they get themselves off to a map 1 pace, or will it be a little bit more of map 2? So far, it's either gone to whoever actually gets the first round has been the ultimate decider and taker of the map itself. Will it be the same story? I suppose. Unfortunately, we'll have to wait. So this is just the first page of the third catalogue. The Capcan over the top. We haven't seen a huge amount of selection here. Obviously, he can get himself tucked into pretty irritatingly tricky corners. The boxy nature of this map becomes a big problem.
Definitely does. E1D goes off again. C4s and grenades are being tossed out. A jump out from Handy, not able to find anything, but it gives away a bit of information of his previous location. SDK receiving some pressure as well, but he will be closing off his window so he can fall back further down towards the planks area. Of course, this side is not going to be the top floor. It is down in mining and dining, but top floor is important. You want to get verticality out, especially around the train area, so you can stop any rotations. It's a Claymore will find SDK, who just found Astro with a jump.
Well, a very quick response, and Fantasy suffers next. They're sort of swanning their way over the top floor. You can see he's tucked himself down. the breaching charge to give themselves the verticality. Can Miracle with a slow creep offer some salvation. Fantasy gets downed inside Library and gets finished off by Cyber. They had that vertical close down and they had him pincered and pushed into a very tricky angle to escape from. But 2 minutes gone. The verticality has started to fall into their favor. And even further, they push and batter down the hatches. Handy's going for something big, but there seems to be the reveal that we know where you are regardless of the lines. The long arm canister, do they know? There it is, the heavy hit of Cameraman. Gets it across the board, leaves just Handy left.
So far, a convincing round from FaZe, and he takes some damage moving through the smoke canister there. That Kafe might have given away his position. It seems like they are aware as they want to go in for a plan. It's coming from both directions now. Cameraman goes down. It is going to be the adrenaline surge used before they continue with the plans, but Souls is there to lock it off with the C8. And it's going to be round 1 for FaZe. After they just missed out on their match point. That was a 5v3, mind you. They want to start off Kafe strong.
Well, we have a break of trend, and will somebody be able to actually take the second and then the third? We've sort of seen a bit of a back and forth between these two teams consistently across this showdown. It was a very good lead in here from FaZe. FaZe attacking Kafe actually throws me back to when I personally really felt like this meta, this attack and driven show started to come together. Their attacks, not at the most recent SI, but the one the year before in Paris on this map, really brought a lot of that excitement to me, even if it's obviously slight differences in who's doing what, why, where, and when, and even on the roster.
Montaigne coming out, Emmy. Talking about attacks, Montaigne is often a operator that the entire attack revolves around at that point. It is a centerpiece. As soon as you lose that Monty, the plan might be gone. It's going to be good to see how Astro will be using that operator. Are they going to be going to try and push right through Cocktail, try and right on clear it out, or will they use it to take control of Piano? Multiple positions you can go for, multiple opportunities. Very, very careful of any potential spawn peeks around. You do not want to lose anybody this early on, especially on map 3, where you would be prone to losing it all if 1 or 2 rounds do not go your way, especially in a close matchup. Could be the decisive factor.
SDK tucked in close. The Nook in the hands of Cyber. Obviously, he's a man that's pretty adept with kind of any role in the operator that you give him, and Nook can be pretty ferocious on this map. You've got the 2 generic hefty staircases that tower all the way to the top, and then the single cut of Brown, and Nook can cause problems on any of them, but it seems like they want to try and slip their way in on the front of a push that's otherwise quite audible and noisy. The hot drones roll their way through, and there it is. The movement. Where will he go from here? Is he trusting that the Zulu cam isn't being watched, or the appearance of a player potentially above? There is a breach that his army is keeping a keen eye on. Just missed a foot that actually slipped in, but it's a lot easier for me to see it. Doesn't miss the second. SDK removes Bullet.
Cyber pushes on though. Now in control of mining. He's checking the same angle he just lost one of his teammates from. Hatch open as well, hoping to find a drop down. A drone will give away the information. A grenade will be tossed in, but long gone will SDK be. Doesn't quite know where that grenade come from as he is just walking out and about on that hatch. Might lose his life with Astro. Decides to just go for a plant instead.
Cyber is going to play the grenade underneath the break. He does a lot of damage to Miracle. It's enough to draw the attention. Astro, no! Almost got the shield back pop up. It was a bold risk. And FURIA, they have a 2-body advantage, but only about 40 seconds to come up with what to do with it. Cyber finds the first. Deep underneath, they've sent another. It's a wide swing, and it's FaZe Clan lighting up the top 2 floors here. Every route FURIA wanted was closed off, and FaZe take it.
And even though it's FURIA that finds the opening kill, are unable to try and translate it. The plant going down. The Monty taking the risk of trying to put it down paid off. 45 seconds turn into 2-0. Kitchen service and cooking is coming up. To the bottom floor we go. For now, it seems like we have a Kavera in play. How is that going to work out? Fantasy on that Kavera is going to hide first. Doesn't want to be given away. As we see the replays in the meantime.
Yeah, it's that sort of position of that, obviously. And this, it was just such a sturdy thing. They had a a little pocket of space on the previous round, and they made sure to make work of it. And as you were saying, the Kavera, now that we get the sights onside the screen itself, they've literally lain down with mute jammers around them since the beginning of the round. Fantasy hasn't moved yet.
Doesn't want to give it away. Because after that, players and the team will be playing a bit more cautious, will be playing a bit more together, tidied up, packed up, to ensure that an interrogation is not going to be on the board.
Now they're off to the races, Kavera, and hoping that they can try and pull somebody off on the back of it. There's a lot of work that goes into clearing this map. But when you're on this site, sometimes teams will get not distracted, but a little bit more focused, is the calmer way of putting it, and focusing towards actually breaking across the back of it, as it's Cyberzera himself that's putting that pressure down towards the garage in the bottom of white. Bullet, he's going for the slow creep. As I said before, with the two massive stair sets on the either side and then the one in the middle, you can kind of get cutoff points and choke points, and you push and force them usually down. FaZe, they're toying with the idea of hitting the middle floor, or at least having a couple of guns waiting, and that's around where Fantasy's living.
Just holding. Doesn't want to be droned out. Drones are all around him, but not quite hitting his area. Oh, just went by. He's gone unspotted so far. Second drone is near. Oh, sorry. To the mining, wrong floor.
There's a building pace of a clap right now, cameraman. Inside it, there's one around on the piano. You can see, obviously, the upside-down rappel on the window itself. Will it go locked in?
He can sneak it out!
Gets caught out! There's the end of the clap, and there's the reveal of Fantasy Cyber. He's thorough, and now they can focus downwards.
Now was a bit too impatient there, moved in. There comes the cluster charges. Not going to be able to find anybody, but Miracle definitely pushed back as they continue sending down these explosives down range. This opens up an opportunity to start using these breaching charges to ensure themselves to have some verticality without having to worry about any C4s to be tossed back up.
That's it. Fuse is fantastic, obviously, at clearing utility. We can see the pop of the Candela into the room. I'm not entirely sure where that decided to drop from, but it also is followed up with a hard breach charge. Now they're looking for the player just underneath. Sees a sliver, cannot quite get the full catch. This one's going to give them a little bit more of the angle. Not going to wait for Cyber to just get the follow-up. Look at this, though, raining on the door. Astro, do they know? Souls is going for the rotate. SDK is the drone. He went really bold. He doesn't get it, though. So close to a massive play for the side of FURIA. Took the risk, couldn't quite get the end of it.
Again, too impatient there. If he would have stuck around, might have been able to pick someone up as Bullet will find Miracle. It's going to be up to Rare and Handy now in a 2v5 situation up against FaZe. Are they going to be able to clutch this out? It's Handy that drops. It's only up to Rare now in a 1v5. He has verticality. If the plant goes down right underneath him, there might be an opportunity, but it's not the case. It's on the A-bomb chassis, and he tries to sneak around as shots are coming up. He takes some damage and will be shut down. It's a flawless round for FaZe as they expand on their lead and continue to build towards the semi-final.
Wow. For only the third time this showdown between the two teams, and the first time as the opening three, someone has tied 3 rounds together. And that's going to mean FURIA is going to try and slow things down here. Taking their time out, taking their time to talk and try and discuss the things that aren't quite connecting. I mean, that was almost. Here's a couple more steps further forward from Astro, and that would have been his take.
The thing is, right, both the Kavera and SDK going a bit too aggressive there. They went undroned, misdroned, then they get impatient and want to go. And I kind of understand you want to have that impact, but would they have waited 5, maybe 10 seconds longer? An opportunity would have presented itself for them to have a free kill and try and rotate out right afterwards. Now, they let themselves be known. They gave away their position, even though they have been misdroned. And it's just these slight mistakes that FaZe have managed to capitalize on perfectly well in that last round. As we head back towards the ground floor, they need to change something up. And it seems like the Clash and the Warden will be that combination.
Well, they got to change something at this point in the game. Using your timeout and having as many kills as rounds have been played is a little bit of a tricky statistic to swallow, especially this late on in the day. It's the final map of the day. It's the final map that either of these teams might be playing in the whole tournament. And they've got another one to follow up with potentially tomorrow if they're breaking it through. So they want to try and get this wrapped up as quickly as possible so they can have time to get a good old bit of bed rest.
Of course, you want to make sure you're well rested headed towards one of those semis. It's the Fuse that will be repicked. It is going to be the Ying that comes out. The Sophia turns into a Florist. And you also see the Thermite make the appearance on the side of FaZe. We'll be headed for another bottom floor take. Now, I think this lineup leans itself a bit more towards taking control of VIP area. And after that, try and push into the actual freezer. And push on from there. Of course, top floor will still be a matter of, like, it's critical to also get, because you do not want, this Miracle takes a little bit of damage there as the barricade gets opened up, to be shut down from above as you try and get that plant down.
Well, there's the breach and the breakthrough, getting themselves the angles and the width once again towards the bottom of white. I said they done this pretty early before, but it's a slightly different tact and take this time against a slightly different defense. Obviously, the clash of SDK might be a problem causer later. There it is, driven all the way past, obviously, the meat jam was on the inside. That now frees this. Cyber moves behind it and finds two! Double! Cannot quite find the third. There's a rotation coming down from Rare on the bottom of white just to make sure that nobody else is behind him. But still, what a play.
Already done the damage, follow the R0 knew someone was stuck in that corner. Use your LMG well. And right now, it is going to be SDK with the clash, needing to make the difference together with Rare and Miracle. Grenades get tossed over, but don't deal too much damage here, as I believe Bullet is currently being slowed down.
Yeah, he's fighting a clash, and Souls is fighting nobody anymore. Miracle caught out. There's Rare on the rotate round. Looks for the second and finds it. Rare keeps them fighting inside this round itself. Bullet, he's looking down the swing of Long. He doesn't want to get isolated, but the clash drops the shield and the player two. A 2 versus 1 for Cameraman. They have the verticality. Clash has the attention. They're about to loop their way back round. Cameraman might just try and stick and finish this plant, but as soon as he looks up, well, that's not the best sight for anybody to see in this situation. Down the back of white stairs, the other rotation's coming through. And it's FURIA to find their first round.
FaZe went a bit too greedy there. They had the advantage, they had the man count, but were being taken out one by one. And FURIA allowed to take that round home, allowed to put it on the board. And with that, at least have that little bit of margin if they do not take anything from here on. But it's also a change of momentum. The clash really worked out. It slowed down these attackers. It kept them in their place, made them panic, like, where is that last defender going to be coming from? Where is the gun that's actually going to be killing me attacking from? It's a great play by Rare, by the way. The double spray down shouldn't have happened on the side of FaZe, but it did.
I mean, what a time for him to come round as well. He obviously had to rotate just after the tail end of Cyber's push through. He was ready to offer the support in case that other kill went away from them, and with the rest of the way and the route he played through that round, he just made sure that there was always somebody causing some pressure back onto the end of FaZe. FURIA find there first. It was a post-plant, but it felt pretty comfortable, especially in a 2 versus 1 where Clash is one of them.
10 seconds to go.
Now we are back towards reading and dining. The site on the middle floor. We haven't seen the top floor yet. Of course, there were some setups, and there is right now as well. Some walls get reinforced. Some players will be out there, but it is not going to be the direct objective. Except for the first, that one time with the Monty plant. Now, as they're checking for spawn peaks, FaZe is really careful. They got more careful as the match progressed because FURIA really like to take the gunfights outwards. They really like to bring the aggression to outside of the building because if they can't enter the building, they cannot put the diffuser down on the ground.
SDK, who are you fishing for? Nobody. Bullet is able to slip a little bit further away, opens up some attention, and obviously we've seen the Azami play this role before. Just keep the pressure on the windows.
Making sure that no one can just freely rappel up there is... I was going to say, might use the DMR to open up the hatches, but it's actually going to be the skeleton key that does that. Default chems to be taken out by Bullet. for now is just all preparative work being done by FaZe. They want to make sure they have some pressure down on every single point of the map that matters.
The smokes, and I feel like we're about to see some movement behind it. Either side, there's the split, there's Bullet with the cover, there's the Candelas, and there's Handsy. He's got the smoke to stop it in the push, so they move behind it. Bullet finds one with a grenade, and Astro's caught a little bit in the spray through. It's a cacophony of audio, but it ends with Rare and Miracle getting the punctuation on the entered players. Bullet, he broke his way over to the top floor, and Rare breaks Cameraman back out. It's a 4 versus 2 FaZe. Oh, it's a 4 versus 1 FaZe. They tried something a little bit quick now, and they have the reveal on where Astro is. He's got a lot of time. He's got the vertical, but he's also still got 3 FURIA players to get through. One of them still has a smoke as well, but, well, they don't need it.
MK14 coming in, and FURIA able to pick up a second round of this half. A bit of an odd take from FaZe, tossing in so much utility onto the direct side, only to hop up above and losing most of your players up on that top floor rather than on the direct side. Now we're headed back towards that top floor that we just saw being breached by the FaZe members. Of course, first a replay to come in. Grenades to be tossed in deep. We'll find one, but I didn't understand why so much utility gets tossed in to just go top floor instead.
It was seemingly a little bit of a change of direction.
Or maybe the smoke canister coming in.
It was, yeah, it was
there,
that sort of idea that they threw things together. They lost a little bit of the early engagement. 2 bodies dropped, so they still sent 2 to the top floor. I think they did try to go for the middle floor at the same time. It's just they lost those engagements. We saw 2 stacked players either side of it. It's just the Candela carrier wasn't the one that moved behind it. But still, ever since that tack timeout, FURIA, they've taken both rounds. FaZe, their 3-0 lead has slowly slipped away. Can FURIA get themselves for the first time an even half for either of these times, or either of these teams on the opening?
It'd be great for FURIA, especially after their opening, that they can bring it back. Because FaZe, they started off so strong, so dominant. FURIA being able to bring that back again. We talked about it before, you need to have that grit. You need to be able to fight back when you're lagged down, when you are on the back foot. And FURIA have been doing that so far in this matchup as a whole, but also in this map here. Being down 3-0, super decisive by FaZe, and now bringing it quite close.
They're trying to drone out that loose player. They have a rough idea on the locations, but you can see a quick bit of movement. FURIA to the top floor. They're going to make sure that if there's somebody loose that they're not going to get so easily removed by multiple other players. Rare is obviously buried there. As the pressure comes across Piano, Cyber. This is that role I talked about with the Nook. If you can get yourself tucked in onto one of the surprise staircases, well, suddenly, from 3 different points of location, you could entirely drive towards the site. Holds off, waits. There's a lot of time. There's time for the rest of FaZe to start doing some busy work inside the site. The more noise they make, the easier a time he will have. Oh, he has not an easy time at all, though. Rare decided to meet him where he stood.
Yes, the suppressor didn't quite have the recoil control and loses out on the gunfight there, Cyber. Uncharacteristic there for him to miss those shots. But FaZe is in a Piano. It's Souls that looks to find. Rare does so as well. Brings it back to a 4-4. They're still on point. As Fantasy takes him out, Astro looks to go for a bit of a trade, but takes more damage than he deals.
Miracle battling here on the new window. He's tempted to open up underneath. The grenade is going to roll its way through, tucked on the corner, but they've actually long since left all the way down Brown and out of town. They've got the chance to come up elsewhere, and that's what Bullet's going to pay a lot of attention to. He's waiting for the slow creep of Miracle, but Miracle doesn't really have to go all the way yet. He can sort of sit and wait. He's a presence that they know about, and that still puts them in a tricky situation on the site itself. The flash rolls all the way in. There's nobody tucked on the side and nobody on 90 and Pixel anymore even. It's Fantasy holding off onto the skylight itself, waiting for a drop, but they've pulled away with those flashes. It's a charge down White. The single player inside, Bullet on the back line. Will he look left? Well, he might have to look forward. A bit of a dive round. Handy gets the back end as Cameraman does find Fantasy. It's Handy. Gets his double, drives him forward. Cameraman, 2 players left. 1 to his left and 1 to his right. The C4 gets the game away. Fantastic take. but Handy is out of there. 15 seconds. He doesn't need to hand this engagement yet. He's trusting there's a little bit of intel. There is some Banshees. He's tucked onto the default plant spot, holding, waiting. Does Cameraman? No!
He gets it! Cameraman with a beautiful clutch to come through. The time was about to run out. He could have dropped down, but instead Cameraman a little bit quicker on the trigger there. And FaZe, they find themselves with a 4-2 split. But just barely, because the timer was about to run out. The pop-up as well from Handy, who did incredible, by the way. Managed to pick up 2 important kills. And now FaZe will be swapping over towards the defense themselves to try and make the difference. 3 more rounds, and they will be going to the semifinals.
3 more rounds, FaZe. And as I said at the start of this, the team over this series that's taken the first round has ended up taking the map. And both first maps as well, they are a 4-2 into the favor of the team that ultimately ended up taking it as well. Statistics are riding it with FaZe, but FURIA sometimes has a habit of bucking the trend and breaking through it. And now's their chance. Can Julio be that missing link for the roster to bring them out of the quarters, push towards the semis, and from then on, who knows?
Who knows what's going to be possible from there on? At least another semi-final that will be played all the time. That's up next, and after that, you'll be facing either an A or a U. So, FaZe on their defense starts down on the ground floor. The bakery is being heavily held so far, and they definitely want to make sure they have the opportunity to go for that late reinforcement. Lock it off. Make sure that if bakery starts to fall, if the pressure starts to rise, you can lock it off. You can make sure it won't open up again.
FURIA, they have some idea of control they want to do on the width of this map. Nomad and the air jab she provides is pretty consistent. To be fair, they've played against FaZe's roam inside Chalet pretty well. They've combined that with Fantasy on that role of the Jackal. He hasn't quite been able to get a proper bite into this game. Neither has Miracle. It's generally rare. And then obviously the 2 very important impact frags from Handy, almost pulling the previous round into their favor. It's not when you get, it's not how many you kill, but generally when you get the kills.
And of course, also who you kill at that moment in time. It's a diffuser killer. Very important. Now, Hatch is going to be electrified as well, just to make sure it's going to be a little bit more difficult for the side of FURIA to open that one up. There's having Rare onto the Hibana, the hard breach. To do so, they need to get rid of the Electroclaw first now. A grenade needs to be used, or EMPs on the side of Handy. EMPs will be coming through, double of them, just to make sure you can go for that double Electroclaw trick. So the hatch will be opened up. There's nothing they can do about that on the side of FaZe.
It's the most important part of this site, to be able to crack open for most takes, especially with that single hard and the soft breach on the back line. You can still get that cracked open a little bit later. Astro, he drops the drone before it rolls its way further through. FaZe, they're steadily doing their structural work. They've got themselves pretty keen control over the top 2 floors right now, and FURIA, they're sort of ready to try and break apart it. Have they been able to force the idea of just what FaZe knows out of it? There's the first, and it's perfectly played. SDK. Doesn't matter if you know about it, it doesn't matter if you know. There it is, the drive-through. It's Souls and Bullet to bite it back. Find themselves in a 3 versus 2, a 2 versus 2. Souls swings round, gets the smoke onto the kit itself. But SDK's inside the site, pre-fires the angle, just gets the catch. He's looking for Bullet, the last thread. Just round on small bake. Handy's holding the angle. SDK can pick up the kit and just put it down if he wants to, but Handy takes the fight anyway.
Well done by FURIA there. They lock it off. They know where the last man is. They just lock off these angles one by one. Isolate the players. With a bit of quick pace coming through. It's now 3-4. We remain close. Around in between the 2 LATAM teams. And the section of FURIA starts to grow. I wonder if they hear it. There's definitely some smiles on the FURIA team. Top floor we go. FaZe just losing out on the defense there after it suddenly exploded right into their faces. And I was going to say, yes, they're all around the site. But at the same time, they haven't really done anything yet. That grenade started it all off. VIP was crucial to hold on to. With that being lost, FURIA could push on.
Well, FaZe. As I sort of said, the top 2 floors had fallen, but with a minute left, it was almost a measured idea, and then FURIA did that FURIA thing where they throw themselves against the hole. The remaining players open with a grenade and then just kept pushing behind it until the trades fell into their favor. For all the back and forths, let's see if they can try and keep the drive up. This is the first time we're bucking trends. As I said, we do not have the 5-2 position.
And that means FaZe is a bit vulnerable here. FURIA able to instantly start off on the attack with that explosiveness is something you'd like to see. Cameraman now knows though about a player out here. Knows is going quite aggressive. The pre-fire might come in with the UMP. He's not quite sure of it though. Needs to be careful. A grenade could be tossed in at any given second now. SDK is ready to go for it. Just keeps pulling and putting back the pin inside because he wasn't quite sure where the player was going to be.
He's now got a bit of support though. Bullets come over to often an end to the heart rate scanner. And I think that's SDK's cue to leave. If there was a player a little bit earlier there, it would have been a very quick round for SDK. So he's made the right decision there, pulling his way back. Still a little burn that has to go through on the far end. Piano, corner, and everything behind it with those gates. They've got to be quickly closed off. There's a chance for an Azami to try and waste even more time. The keeper barriers go and quickly rebuild a window that gets popped, allows them the rotation. It's an irritant because white window does become a big bit of cost either side.
Of course, it's easily to be punched out, but at least you have a bit of a safety form right now. Gone 6 use to get rid of the one of those keeper barriers. Grenades now being tossed in as well. We'll get Bullet as Handy will lock off that kill eventually.
Now there is the Mozzie playing loose underneath, but Fantasy's inside the site, gets taken out by Astro. He's ready to drop an offer support because SDK has found souls. They're still trying to flood behind them. The same way I called it as the previous round. This is what FURIA like to do, is find one and then look for the second pretty much instantly. Sets up the flank drone, gives themselves some awareness. There's the Mozzie. The C4 doesn't quite get the catch. They heard the tear and they pulled themselves back. There is the player above Skylight. Are they going to get the catch onto Cyber? He's keeping himself just a little bit at range, waiting for something else, but it doesn't come handy. I said he didn't get too many before, but he's definitely started to change that trend. SDK gets one more, and FURIA level us up 4 apiece.
Can they take the lead now? Is this going to end in FURIA overthrowing FaZe? And again, we mentioned it before. I hear the yes in the background. Don't worry. Every single time these two faced off in best of threes, FaZe win it. FaZe always win these best of threes against FURIA. And we mentioned it before, FURIA, 6 times in a row they've managed to make the big tournaments, but they've never really been able to break through. This is their moment. If they win this, they are top 4. 3 more rounds for either team. And right now, FURIA on their attack. They seem to be unstoppable. FaZe need to toss something in the works right here. They need to make sure that they slow down FURIA.
FaZe still have their timeout if need be. They have the option to bring this game to a halt, and they don't think they need to just yet. They're hoping that maybe one of these sites can have a bit of a connection. This is the first time we've had one of these games sort of even up at this point, and FURIA might be able to push themselves a step ahead, which hasn't really happened across these two. Usually, as I said, apart from the OT, it was still FURIA the first to that map potential point before locking it out in OT. Here, FaZe, they might be at risk of falling behind. Is this quick? They're going for the fight. There's the bolt over the top, forces the player. There's a smoke canister to buy them a second. Just gets out of there. SDK takes a little bit of damage, but nobody from FaZe does, whether they had an awareness of the Gone 6 pace there or not. Either way, they're allowed to still try and move behind it. The break onto the wall is just going to get shut out. The ex-Kairos aren't in a great position. There it is, the cover that comes through from Bullet. He's still watching over to small bake window. It's this thread, a really forward aggressive stance. Can he get that back? Oh, he doesn't want to risk it just yet. A little bit of a lull, a little bit of a silence.
Crisis averted. At least the first bit of pace. Souls looks to go aggressive as, again, the X-Carriers are being taken out. There's no one there to stop Bullet from doing so. That should be the main priority here on the side of FURIA as Fantasy's about to be entering.
There it is, the Finker caught out on the door. There's fights happening absolutely everywhere on this ground floor, but nobody can get a clean strike. There it is. Cyber finds the first. SDK fallen. Bullet still holding on, and there's Astro on the back line, and there's Cyber with one either side. Cyber got the down outside the window. Rare at least gets one more. They couldn't quite get up in time with the pickup. It's FaZe staying one step ahead.
And FURIA, they wanted to go quick there. They went in for the incendiary bolt. They sent in some flashbangs, but the two members out there, Bullet and the smoke, the canisters really stopping them. They couldn't move through because they'll be taking too much damage, especially because they couldn't clear out the closet area. And FaZe, they stay that step ahead. You just mentioned it. 2 rounds away from making it to a semi-final. Cyber Zero here. A bit of a replay. Finds one. Sees a second. Takes that one out as well. There's Astro in the meantime just coming around from the Kojak.
It was FURIA. As he said, they tried to batten down the first hatch and then went to every single other door on the floor. There was a fight on Kojak, a fight on White, and a fight on the double window. Unfortunately for them, Cyber was holding down at least 2 of them to cement 3 kills. FaZe, 1 round separates them from map point. It turned into a little bit of a chase, but as I said, they still have that time. If they want, they've got the drive throughout this.
I don't think they'll use it until it's absolutely necessary. They are still somewhat in control. They're in the lead, they're on the fence. They're currently setting themselves up on that top floor. Making sure they have verticality so they can stop a quick plan through reading. As in the meantime, they're actually going in quite quick from below. Fantasy already in the Cupcake Bar and Bakery. Pushing through towards Wedding. Looking to go up one of these staircases, hoping to find one off guard. SDK is in already in the bottom floor as well. But there's someone waiting on the other side. His cameraman with a shotgun. You generally don't want to face off to that.
They're trying to bait the swing. Cameraman's too old for that game. He's been around the block and he's not going to give it to you that easily. He holds off with the shotgun and waits for you to come to him. 1 grenade thrown and nobody on the wrong end of it. In the meantime, Fantasy has found his way up to the 2nd story. Hasn't found an engagement yet. And that's the thing with the hot drone rolling ahead of him. Well, he hits the cap cans. That's going to give a bit of a reveal away. As to the single player, not the double down. It could have been a drop.
Of course, the Finker could have been able to get the pickup then on Fantasy, but, you know, there's definitely some information gained now. Rare will join after Fantasy just stepped through, opening up onto the dining area. They want to make sure that the plant can soon be dug in deep. But FaZe still around. Cyber is starting to come in from the back.
That's it. He's going for the drop onto Red. He doesn't quite get the clean shot, but it's about to be. Looking for the loose player. There's one. Tox behind the mining gear. There's the upside down rappel on the windows. The X-Kairos start to pop off. Rare's trying to pay attention, but it's dangerous when you've already started your push. He needs the support handy with the skeleton key. He finds a shotgun fight. But the English one is able to just carry on through. Cyber's waiting for Rare to drift a bit closer. There's the spray round. They're inside the site. SDK gets a lockdown on the camera. Do they know roughly where the pillar player is? SDK's the next off the board. Souls gets one more. He's behind you, Rare. He's behind you. And now it's Cyber trying to find the final FURIA player. Round and round they go on the mining gear. They can't quite get a clean strike. But with the kid in front of them and a 3 versus 1, Cyber, he doesn't want to sit anywhere else but right up in the face of this lion. The Roars, they're at least able to back it up, but it's camera from the top floor. FaZe, 1 round separates them from the semi-finals.
And 2 opportunities they will have to find that round. The side we just played on will be locked, so they have to do it elsewhere. Now, you don't see it yet. We can soon see what side it will be. As you can see, the faces, the focus that FaZe is bringing into potentially the last round of tonight. The last round of this quarterfinal. As cameraman locking out the shotgun fight there against the skeleton key. English shotgun just a little bit better for the anti-personnel. Soul's just realizing there someone went prone. Good spot coming down there.
I mean, that's the sort of thing, if you're looking at the side of FaZe, the way that we've seen Souls really dig into this. Cyber, he had a slow first game, but since then really stacked himself up. Yeah, Souls 11-6 alongside Cyber's 11-6. There's not quite somebody on the side of FURIA that's been able to match that pace for now. That ability to just keep getting in, getting stuck against the people on them. I mean, Cameraman, he's almost at a 2.0 KD as well.
Definitely chasing it. But this might be the very last round we have here today. If FaZe lock it off, they will be making it to the semi-final. So everybody who's here to support FURIA, you better give them all your energy because they might lose out here. This might be the last round they play in this tournament.
There it is. FURIA. They don't know when they're beaten. It's time to prove it. 2 more rounds. And then another couple on top. They've hit an overtime before and taken it, but now they've got to try and do it from the wrong end. And it's just down to FaZe to stop them. Bit of focus paid over the top. Handy, as I said, he's had a couple of those big moments here. They're more than happy to go for this steadier approach and look for the loose FaZe thread.
Just soon to be open up. It's the Camaress. No, it was the C8 that was being used. Sonagiri that has spoiled me with that. Rifle being used. That's the first bullet taken out. Miracle from below through the hatch. This one coming up the brown stairs, though. Is he aware? It is Cyber trying to go for the chase. If he does manage to lock out this kills, Miracle actually going down.
He's going out of there. He doesn't want to risk the wrath of Cyber, and it's fair enough. Miracle was able to crouch his way in and get a big strike, and he wants to see if he can try and get another on it. The first grenade gets caught out. They're going to see if they can burn on the far side. Fantasy's tucked around, looking for the long-distance fight. Cannot quite get the full connection. Miracle's just going to hold out on Brown. There's a lot of attention paid towards the risk of the flank here, and that's a very big part of what FaZe has been able to do over the past couple of rounds and bring the momentum back into the side of their team. There's still this back line. Miracle doesn't quite have the ability to get a true catch round. He's hoping the Maestro might drift to pay a little bit more attention. The camera gets popped, reveals the player, the pop on the castle as well. There goes Cameraman, finds SDK, the breach underneath, but it's Cyber to have the cover onto Miracle inside reading room. The rotation to the top as Fantasy is the next to be rocked. Handy with the skeleton key is looking for a close quarters fight here with 50 seconds on the board. Cyber is holding off. There's a break on the top of white. They're trying to pinch this player out. Cyber doesn't quite know the side to lean into. Doesn't have the support though. It's sprayed over the top. 2 more players for Red to have to drive through. It's not possible. FaZe Clan stop the run of FURIA one more time. They cannot quite progress, but FaZe sure can. They're looking hungry for a second title.
Once again, FaZe beat out FURIA in a best-of-3 scenario. But what a game it was. FURIA did make it quite close. Unfortunately, not having anything left here for Kafe on these last couple rounds. They did get openings. They did find opportunities. Just not the availability to capitalize upon them.
I mean, commiserations to a team that has fought so consistently throughout this year's worth of majors. And I know they will not stop here. But to our winners, well, let's hand them over to the man, the myth, the legend, Ian Chambers.
Thank you very much, Emmy and Hap. Here he is. He was just putting his socks and shoes on. Cameraman, give it up for FaZe Clan, please, ladies and gentlemen. The final quarterfinal of the day is, of course, done and dusted. Commiserations to FURIA. I could see from the energy between your team, it means a lot that you've made it to the semifinals.
Yeah, for sure. We work really hard to get here. Every day, practice and get nervous and everything. It's not easy. Of course, we love what we do, but when we say about the world tournament, you're gonna play the best players and the best teams, so you have to be the best, and this takes some energy. So yeah, this is really good for us. We are really happy.
You've been to the mountaintop before. You know what it takes. You know what it means to win a major. But that doesn't stop the hunger, does it?
Of course not. We are here to make history.
What did you make of your opponents there? I mean, FURIA, You can see they want you to make history. Well, so let's pick up on that. Can you imagine being the first ever 2-time major champions? What would that mean to you?
Of course, I imagine, but it's something that we need to work for it. It's not easy. It's never been. But we know that we are capable of. I love my team. We are really capable. I trust them, and I think we can make it.
What did you make of your amazing opponents, FURIA?
Nothing but I was expecting that. They're a really good team. We were talking to each other yesterday, and we knew that was going to be a blast, a really tough game. We should have ended it sooner, but things are hard.
Yeah.
That's how we do.
Well, I mean, it's currently 11:45, almost midnight here in Berlin, Germany. It's been a long old day for you guys. Do you think that experience within your roster really helps carry you across the line when it comes to having to show that level of stamina?
Yeah, maybe that's the difference. That's what makes the bigger difference.
W7M next. What do you make of your semi-final opponents?
It's going to be a tough one again, but I think we can make it. We'll make it.
You're a very humble, modest man, but if they are watching, is there anything you want to say to your opponents tomorrow?
Bom, rapaziada da W7M, nós estamos chegando aí, bravo, e não vai ter revanche da Elite 6, não.
All right, what he said. Congratulations. Enjoy some well-deserved rest with your team, all right? And just before I throw back to the desk, I just want to say to all of you amazing fans who've stayed for this very long, amazing night of Siege, you've been amazing. What's this, guys? Oh, were you about to thank them?
Yeah.
It's my job to thank the fans.
We clap them together.
Yeah.
We wanted to thank them too, so can we all come together? Thank you so much for being here with us in the middle of the night.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Ian.
Thank you, Milos. Thank you, Fresh. Thank you,
great.
Pedro.
There it is. Thank you very much to everybody with us again. Local time is 23:45. It's 15 to midnight. So usually my favorite song is 2 minutes to midnight for any Iron Maiden fans out there. But they've gone through the gauntlet here, FURIA. They were not able to progress through FaZe, and just like Ian was asking the cameraman, their experience was able to pull FaZe Clan across the line for the victory. Jack, thoughts on map 3?
I think it's, and the overall fixtures, it's two teams at just different trajectories. FURIA are still that, we can still give them that kind of up-and-coming tab, that, disrupting the establishment, that kind of tag of it's another event. It's more success in the fact they've made another event, they've made the quarterfinals. Sure, they might still be hitting head against that glass ceiling, but they've done a great job.
Yeah.
For FaZe, this is another step on the journey to the trophy, right? And that's as simple as that. They've lifted a trophy before, they're professional enough, they know what it's like to come all the way to Europe and lift a trophy. So, for them, it's just all eyes on tomorrow, really.
And that's what the experience shows, because when you go from best of 1 to best of 3, the more experienced teams will thrive there more. Also, stamina and dexterity, right? We're playing almost midnight. FURIA, who's not as used to it, not as in that vibe, are going to have a harder time, I think, and it kind of showed towards the later half.
I actually think for FURIA, and I've said this a couple of times, it was really unfortunate the team that they got drawn up against was another LATAM team.
Yeah.
True.
Because I think if this was a European team, an APAC team, or an NAL team, they could have expressed themselves a little bit more.
Yes.
I think they had to slot themselves into just a more of a default role. They played their part in the game, but I think they didn't want to go toe-to-toe with FaZe in that sense of just an all-out brawl. They were trying to play it a little bit more smart, a little bit more tight, a little bit more compact. And in the end, I think FaZe was just that little bit too dynamic.
Since we have replays rolling and we can kind of see the UI in here, Pengu, I want to ask you a couple questions here about Twitch ban and Sledge, because we talked about this before we started the map. So what's your take on it?
So the Twitch ban is a classic because Astro plays for FaZe, and Astro is like, none of them want Twitch ban in the world probably.
Yeah.
But also, Piano Room on Kafe is like a big dead space, we say. The Twitch rooms can get in pretty scot-free, deny so much utility. That's what Twitch is like the #1 operator. The Sledge one, I didn't believe in it. You did, Jack. You're like, I think it's possible.
Yep.
It happened.
I think we love this
okay, Milos, you definitely brought it up.
I'm just a dumb host.
Milos says this. He says, I'm just a dumb host all the time. And he's like, he's just on the desk in the pre-match, and he's like, but what about a Sledge ban?
What about the Sledge ban?
And it happens.
There you go. Because you can play vertical Sledge on Kafe.
Yes,
you can't do that on other maps. There you go. And you talked about nades. We talked about Aruni Azami potential, how it ties into Chalet. Man, we were good at what do we do. Come on. It's been a while. We've played enough. We've watched enough to know what to expect in it all. So you got some live shots of FURIA as we go through all of this, and the entire team pulling together on this. And we'll have a chat about FURIA for just a moment here, because they've been incredible in this matchup, and much like a lot of our games that we've had today, could have gone either way between them and FaZe, no matter the map. So thank you very much to FURIA for having joined us here at the Major, made it to the quarterfinals, finally broke through that glass ceiling. Maybe next time it'll be semifinals. So what are your thoughts on the squad?
I mean, we got to give a big shout out to Miracle for ending out Chalet the way he did.
Yes.
An ace in that 3 versus 5 situation, going absolutely nuclear. Rare on Kafe on map 3 had so many good moments, but statistically speaking, yeah, it's a pretty even showing for FURIA, to be honest.
Honestly, STK was the player that I had just targeted in my mind, that if FURIA are going to have any success, he needs to step up. He's now done that at another international event. And like you say, it might be about that glass ceiling, but they've got the coach in place now. They feel like they're on the good curve. It's kind of similar to Wolves in the EU, in that the tournament expectations for them are probably different for that of FaZe, for that of Rogue, for that of W7M. It's like they will be happy that they've got out, they've got up to the main stage, they've done the quarterfinals, and they'll be looking to the next one. And then they'll be looking to SI, and then you're thinking, well, in 6-8 months' time, this could be a very dangerous team.
Or you slip into Damwon Kia phase. But that, hey, that's the beauty of it, where we get to come back every single major, every single event, invitational, whatever it may be, and we talk about these details. It's kind of this coming together of all the regions, how have things shaped up over the past 3 months, and how good are the teams now against one another. Our bracket, though, here it is updated for you, just to put it all into context. Well, our semifinals are set in Xset versus Rogue and W7M versus FaZe Clan. It's still all Brazil in the bottom of the bracket. And we still have an NA/Brazil, don't tell the others, versus Rogue AU still alive in the semifinal. Potential for that grand final, which I'm sure all the fans in here will be very happy if they were to see Rogue in that grand final. We're pretty much at midnight here, and people still have the energy for it. But there it is. Expectations, just if I were to ask you, hey, how do you think this will go?
It's pretty simple. Explosive matchups on both sides of the bracket. Yeah. Of course, having a domestic matchup in W7 and FaZe, they know each other very well, whereas Exec Rogue is completely new territory. Yeah, I think we've got, as always in these tournaments, but I think out of the 4 teams, we've got the best teams or the best potential teams. I still don't think that, Exec and Rogue, I don't think they've hit their potential yet. I think whoever wins out of that and goes into the final is going to be super dangerous. Yeah.
All right. So that was all set for us in our bracket. What can you expect, and what time specifically tomorrow for our matches? Let's put it up on the screen for everybody. We'll be pulling it up on the side probably. We'll get to see what times so we can expect our still best of 3s, by the way. We're still set for BO3s until we are in the final at 3 p.m. local time, which is in 15 hours from now. That'll be Xset versus Rogue, game number 1, and followed by W7M versus FaZe Clan right after 3 hours after that. And of course, on Sunday, there'll be reveals, new things coming to Rainbow Six, and beyond that, the grand final that everybody's been looking forward to, all is to get through tomorrow, Saturday. Overall, gentlemen, thanks so much for being here. Final thoughts before we wrap it all up?
Exciting day, close games. Overtime was in the menu. It was enjoyable to watch.
I just think we need to work on our chants. My goal tomorrow is to teach another song to the crowd.
We got songs to teach you for tomorrow.
Milos won't let me sing, and I've made up about 6 different songs.
Yeah, No, Emmy, no.
Oh, Emmy, please don't.
Tomorrow we'll be talking all about it. We'll get everybody hyped up for it. We'll teach you all the chants and get it all set. So until then, thank you guys so much for being on here on the desk. Of course, for Jacob and Jesse that were earlier here today. Thank you all of you here for joining us in Berlin. It's basically the middle of the night. We're all having fun. For Happening for casting that final matchup. We will see you, all those watching at home, tomorrow 3 p.m. local time in Berlin. Until then, stay safe. We love you. Good night.